Chapter 632, The Fortune of the Immortal Emperor's Eye. Although Su Yu's words were sharp, Jianghu had grown accustomed to them. Su Yu played an undeniable role in his journey to this day. In critical moments, Su Yu was always so reliable, and more than once rescued him from desperate situations. Their bond had long since become one of life and death trust. Then let's go compete for an immortal position. Jianghu looked at Su Yu and said earnestly. In his heart, though, he was thinking of two other people. If he could ascend to immortality, he should be able to find Master Gu and Li Ya. What expressions would they wear when faced with the immortal him? With this thought, his fighting spirit was ignited instantly, and his eyes blazed like torches. Su Yu, seeing him all of a sudden excited, sighed inwardly, truly an enigmatic fellow. At the end of the year, Guan stood on a cliff, braving the heavy snow, watching as the figures of the celestial spirit god and Tianhao disappeared into the world gate. Guan could see that their journey was going smoothly, but the cause and effect beyond the misty immortal court became unpredictable, indicating that there lay mighty beings in the misty immortal court not to be underestimated. This was good. He needed the misty immortal court to be strong enough now. Moreover, Guan felt that even if Tianhao was targeted, he would not die. Neither Profound Residence Immortal Monarch nor Tai Immortal Monarch seemed like they would send assassins for Tianhao, but rather seemed more likely to capture him. Just like the 72 immortals of Jianghu upon discovering Tianhao, they did not annihilate him with thunderous might, they even had the leisure to speak. Howard, what exactly is your origin? Guan's gaze turned profound, his thoughts stretched even further. Who sent and how to Ziwei Immortal Palace? Why did they send and how away to escape the control of the celestial court? Even though he had reached Miaojin Daluo Immortal Realm perfection in cultivation level, there were still things beyond his comprehension. He wasn't troubled by this, for he had means to resolve his current perplexities. That is to break through. As long as he was strong enough, he would be able to see through the fog that lay before him. Guan looked for a while, then turned and walked down the mountain. The heavy snow soon covered his figure, and the footprints he left behind quickly disappeared without leaving a trace. Time is like this snow, erasing all marks in the world. Given enough time, even the strongest and most magnificent things will fade away. 10 years later. An Xen followed Guan on the mountain ridge, the setting sun stretched their shadows long. Master, don't deceive me, we are still on the Nine-Spirit continent. How could we reach the place Tianhao wants to go? You wouldn't use this as a metaphor to teach me some life lessons, would you? An Xen couldn't help questioning, her face filled with suspicion. If that was truly the case, then she would have to forget it. Since he is the master, she could only endure. Guan laughed and said, "What's the hurry? Use your immortal emperor's eye to sense it." Upon hearing this, an Xen immediately activated her immortal emperor's eye, and her pupils turned purple. Her view of the world changed. She found that their surroundings were not the forests of the Nine-Spirit continent, but a mysterious cosmic void. A gray airflow came from ahead, and upon careful sensing, she realized that it was the breath of the great Tao. She was greatly shocked and began to seriously sense the great Tao essences along the way. What was going on? Was this an illusion divine power? Or had she actually arrived in another place? An Xen, filled with curiosity, watched Guan's figure ahead. Guan continued to walk leisurely as if stepping over rough mountain terrain, his strides not that of walking on flat ground. Moreover, an Xen felt a strong sense of kinship emanating from Guan. Without guessing, she knew it was the perception granted by Guan's immortal emperor's eye. The master who imparted her with the immortal emperor's eye, surely he himself had mastered such peerless divine skills. She secretly compared and found that her immortal emperor's eye was far inferior to her master's. This gap was greater than any description in the world. She felt that if she faced her master's immortal emperor's eye, she might not even have the courage to resist. It was an immensely vast aura that made her feel incredibly insignificant. I have many disciples and they have each received different parts of my inheritance, but the immortal emperor's eye, I have only passed it on to you alone. It is not only because this divine skill is difficult to cultivate, but also because I see the most potential in you. In fact, I think you are my most outstanding disciple and you will surprise everyone. Guan's voice came from ahead, casual in tone, but the content of his words filled an Xen with joy and surprise. Although she had followed Guan for 88,000 years, it was the first time she had heard her master speak so highly of her. Whether it was in Hao Yangjian, the current celestial demon child, blood prison great saint Elvisian, or Qin Chuan, so many geniuses have appeared under the master's guidance, she never dared to imagine that she would be the favorite disciple of her master. An unprecedented surprise and touch filled her heart, converging into a mysterious force that caused changes in her immortal emperor's eye. Purplish auras escaped from her immortal emperor's eye's purple pupils, entwining around her eye sockets and branding into unusual purple Dao patterns. Although Guan, walking ahead, did not look back, the corners of his mouth were slightly upturned. And Xin's immortal emperor's eye had transformed. The reason for the transformation was not just because of Guan's words, which were just a catalyst. The main influence was the surrounding Dao intent. At this moment they were walking on the path of the Great Dao, surrounded by the intent of the Great Dao. The path of the Great Dao is boundless and beyond ordinary natural forms. He used the Daoless celestial net step to walk on the edge of the Great Dao path, where no one could detect their presence. Search ** the Novelier. N.T. website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. But this path was very dangerous, and the slightest carelessness could lead to complete annihilation. And Xin was unaware of the fortune she was in. She could feel changes within herself, which made her even more grateful to her master. Time seemed to stand still as an Xin gradually entered a state of self-forgetting. Her immortal emperor's eye allowed her to see many impactful images. In absolute darkness, a big explosion occurred, giving birth to the universe, with countless shards of rock flying and becoming pieces of worlds, which then gave birth to all living things. She saw the origin and destruction of life, the collision of Tao creating the rules of heaven and earth, and she even saw terrifying figures standing with their backs to all living beings at the site of the explosion. So many images overwhelmed her sight, and during this process she absorbed some power. This power came from the Great Tao. To absorb the power of the Great Tao from something akin to an illusion was beyond Xin's own comprehension. She realized that she still didn't understand the immortal emperor's eye completely. Perhaps the reason her master said she was his most outstanding disciple was mainly because she had cultivated the immortal emperor's eye. Master once said that the immortal emperor's eye holds different divine skills for different individuals, and they are very profound. Perhaps my immortal emperor's eye is more than just about absorbing power for my own use. And Xin thought to herself as she continued to immerse in the current fortune. She didn't know how much time had passed. It could have been a day or two or maybe thousands of years. Suddenly, Xin suddenly woke up, stumbled, nearly bumping into Guan, but fortunately, Guan steadied her with his index finger on her forehead. "We have arrived," Guan said with a smile to Xin, who came back to her senses and looked around subconsciously. They were standing amidst a brilliant starry sky, countless stars and varying massive nebulae visible in every direction, all so beautiful it seemed unreal. Xin was still immersed in the fortune of her immortal emperor's eye and felt a sense of loss. She asked subconsciously, "Where is this place?" Guan looked in a certain direction and said, "Misty Immortal Court, where your senior brother will practice in the future, and perhaps he will ascend to immortality there." Upon hearing this, Xin fully awakened. Her curiosity prompted her to ask, "Could it be that immortal gods reside here?" Guan replied, "Not exactly, but immortal gods have been born here." As soon as he finished speaking, a rainbow light streaked across the depths of the starry space ahead. It was a cultivator who looked like an immortal, with an extraordinary demeanor, surrounded by several treasures, moving at an extremely fast speed. He suddenly stopped, not far from Guan and Xin, stood still, his eyes widened, his body trembling slightly. This scene left Xin puzzled, and just as she was about to ask, her eyes suddenly widened. Suddenly, a figure burning with black flames appeared out of nowhere behind the cultivator, as tall as 100 feet, like a mountain behind him. The figure with the black flames was raising its right hand, with the index finger touching the cultivator's head. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 633. The Great Tao is boundless. Looking at that black flame figure, Xin was scared and dared not to speak, for fear of startling the other party. The figure appeared out of nowhere, and Xin was completely unaware. Now just looking at him, she felt chilled to the bone. Even with the advancement of her immortal emperor's eye, she felt terrified when looking at this figure. This was an instinctive reaction to mortal danger, telling her at first glance that she was definitely no match for the other party. But soon Xin realized that the person seemed not to see them. She couldn't help but turn her head to look at her master, noticing his calm face, quietly watching the black flame figure and the cultivator. Even that cultivator being suppressed by the black flame figure seemed unfathomably profound to Xin. "Master," What is the cultivation level of the cultivator being pursued? Curiously, an Xian asked. Guan replied, heaven-encompassing free immortal, ranking above profound yuan free immortal. Heaven-encompassing? An Xian was startled. She knew that above free immortal was the Tao fruit realm, and also knew that the profound yuan free immortal was the publicly recognized strongest realm in the celestial spirit great world. Even the master of the Tao court was of this realm. The existence stronger than the master of the Tao court was actually suppressed by an unknown being, leaving no room to display the might of a heaven-encompassing free immortal. An Xian asked further, what realm is the being behind him? Guan answered, innate golden immortal realm, ranking above heaven-encompassing free immortal, the first realm of the golden immortal Tao fruit. Innate golden immortal. And Xin's horizons were greatly broadened. The higher the cultivation, the less likely it is to overcome a higher realm. If you encounter a being of a much higher realm in the future, it is best to deter. Do not try to be brave, Guan earnestly advised. Encountering such a battle was no coincidence. Guan had foreseen the nearby battle to the misty immortal court and specifically brought an Xian to see, letting her understand the terrifying world beyond the Great Thousand World. The universe where the misty immortal court is located is not the Great Thousand World. It's more vast than the Great Thousand World, and the Tao rules here are even more intense. After calculations, Guan knew that such a universe was called the Tao universe, higher than the Great Thousand World. Don't worry, master, I won't venture out alone. I want to keep cultivating by your side, an Xian said with a smile. She didn't find cultivating by Guan's side dull at all. She relished the feeling of becoming constantly stronger. Moreover, she could watch the ebb and flow of the human world. If she wished to go out and play, the Qinghuan sect was a good place. Within the Qinghuan sect, she could feel the changes in the world. New and interesting things entered her view every year. Just then, the black flame figure stretched out a hand and, with the touch on the heaven-encompassing free immortal's head, this heaven-encompassing free immortal was obliterated, ceasing to exist. This made an Xian deeply moved. No matter how high one's cultivation is, would there always be a being they cannot overcome? She couldn't help but wonder. This black flame figure is an innate golden immortal, yet couldn't see her and her master. How high is her master's realm? It must be higher than the innate golden immortal realm. The corners of Guan's mouth slightly curved upwards. Above the innate golden immortal are the heaven-balancing golden immortal and then the Taiqing golden immortal. Going further up are the heaven-opening Daluo immortal, Miaojin Daluo immortal. The gap between him and the black flame figure was far beyond Xin's imagination and cognition, but he would not reveal his true cultivation level. After exterminating the heaven-encompassing free immortal, the black flame figure vanished into thin air. In the Tao universe, beings of any realm must be cautious, Guan remarked with a sigh. An Xian admired Guan even more. With her master's cultivation, he should be able to easily obliterate the black flame figure, but the master never bullied the weak. Compared to those who acted recklessly and without restraint, she admired someone like her master who could control his own desires even more. Although master loves to read some frivolous books, and in Xin's eyes, master is the person who most fits the image of an immortal. He knows the secular world, yet he is not of it. Truly an immortal, yet without the arrogance of one. She will always remember the words her master told her. True strength is not being invincible, but having the capacity to accept those who are weaker than oneself. Guan continued to move forward, and an Xian quickly followed. Along the way, an Xian observed the Tao universe. Every star and every nebula seemed to contain some Tao intent, allowing her immortal emperor's eye to continuously gain insights. She was walking slowly, but the scenery around her moved quickly. She knew this was master's doing. About an hour passed. Guan stopped walking, and Xian came to his side and looked ahead. Her beautiful eyes widened, filled with wonder. In front of them was a piece of starry sky emitting dazzling light, with majestic immortal mansions suspended, standing above the nebulas like numerous stars, layered upon each other, presenting a vision that shook the soul with its representation of the great Tao. Looking at the grandeur of the misty immortal court, and Xin's immortal emperor's eye slightly contracted, as if to deeply imprint this scene in her memory. Will senior brother be cultivating in such a holy land? An Xian murmured softly to herself. A look of anticipation appeared on her face, hoping Tianhao would show his peerless elegance in such a place. Guan spoke. The great thousand world is countless, as is the Tao universe. Even as your master, I am not clear on where the end of the Tao lies, nor how many Tao universes there are. Pursuing the Tao is the most wonderful world, and in the process of pursuit lies longevity. Sar the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. My child, your immortal emperors, I should not only devour power, but also look at the Tao. The more scenery you see, the higher your Tao practice will be. Wuxia translates to without beginning, just like the infinite great Tao. Listening to Gu An's words, and Zin's mindset also began to shift. Pursuing the great Tao? Is this why Master faces all calamities with a serene smile, and confronts all tribulations with lightness? An Xian also wanted to possess such a mindset, so she watched very intently. Yet, standing beside Master and looking at the same scenery, she still could not imagine what everything looked like through Master's eyes. Master, has Tianhao already gone in? An Xian asked. Guan replied, he is currently engaging in combat with someone. This will be his first battle in the Misty Immortal Court, and he will get through it smoothly. An Xian smiled, hearing Master's words, she was completely reassured. If Master said it would go smoothly, then it certainly would. The Master and disciple stood in the starry sky, gazing at the Misty Immortal Court. An Xian was immersed in the grandeur of the Misty Immortal Court, while Guan felt the destiny of the Misty Immortal Court. The Misty Immortal Court must be hiding a heaven-opening Daluo Immortal, but not a Miaojin Daluo Immortal. However, this does not exclude the possibility of a factor relating to the Miaojin Daluo Immortal in the Misty Immortal Court. Guan inexplicably thought of the Emperor of Eternal Lives Master, Celestial Buddha. Where is Ling Mountain? He suddenly thought to check on Ling Mountain. He began to deduce the fates and cause-effect of the Misty Immortal Court. The Misty Immortal Court is closely related to Ling Mountain, and if he deduced, he would surely find traces. Indeed, he found them. Ling Mountain is in another Tao universe. Compared to the memory of the Emperor of Eternal Life, Ling Mountain is even more vast in Guan's eyes. Under Ling Mountain, several Tao universes are suppressed, and inside Ling Mountain, there are many great worlds, all hidden within the bodies of powerful Buddhist cultivators or certain treasures. The Bodhi sacred tree where the Emperor of Eternal Life once resided conceals thousands of worlds. Although these worlds are not considered great worlds, they too nurture cultivation civilizations. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 634, 10,000 years per page. Guan brought an Xian to the Misty Immortal Court, indeed only to broaden her experiences. After Tianhao departed, he needed to cultivate another absolute talent for Wuxia, not for any special reason but because he wished to do so. While an Xian was experiencing the Misty Immortal Court, Guan was feeling the Ling Mountain. Following the endless cause and effect of Ling Mountain, he discovered a vaster heaven and earth, different planes, and he even glimpsed the River of Destiny. Upon seeing the River of Destiny, Guan couldn't help but think of a son from one of his past lives. Lu Qiuxian, the son of Lu Han, born as a primordial cause and effect body. On the verge of death, Lu Han asked Lu Qiuxian to revive himself, but somehow Lu Qiuxian became bound to the River of Destiny, unable to escape from it, yet also thus gaining eternal lifespan. Throughout the long years, Guan occasionally observed Lu Qiuxian, who, after merging with the River of Destiny, seemed like its guardian. His cultivation level was far inferior to Guan's current one, but with the River of Destiny, no one could completely annihilate him. Lu Qiuxian kept searching for his parents within the River of Destiny. Guan saw this but was powerless to help. Guan's exploration into the path of destiny was profound. He could feel Lu Qiuxian's obsession. If he could meet his father, the obsession would dissipate, and Lu Qiuxian would perish, not entering reincarnation. Thus, Guan wanted to wait until he was powerful enough to save Lu Qiuxian before intervening. The lifespan reincarnation allowed Guan to enhance his understanding of the Great Tao and even his life experiences, but it also left many regrets. Lu Qiuxian searched for Lu Han. The Black Profound Emperor sought desperately for Fairy Bai Xian. The Emperor of Eternal Life wanted to save Fairy Yao Xian. Other reincarnated beings also had their own regrets, though Guan had few emotional regrets. It was only before death that he felt regret for not reaching a higher realm. Guan's gaze quickly found Lu Qiuxian. Lu Qiuxian was meditating within the River of Destiny. He wasn't cultivating, but endless searching within destiny for traces of his parents. His cultivation level would strengthen over time, and by aura, it was already comparable to the heaven-encompassing free immortal realm. Guan suddenly wanted to know what Lu Qiuxian's state of mind was like over the long years. His pupils suddenly changed, transforming into the Immortal Emperor's eye. The meditating Lu Qiuxian opened his eyes, frowning as he looked all around. Guan ceased his probing, feeling somewhat surprised inside. The heaven-encompassing free immortal can sense the surveillance of this Miaojin Daluo immortal? He felt relieved. Lu Qiuxin indeed had an extraordinary demeanor. If he were still alive today, his cultivation level would certainly be even higher than it is now. Just as Guan was about to withdraw his gaze, his brow suddenly furrowed. Among the countless causes and effects surrounding Lu Qiuxin, he saw a figure approaching Lu Qiuxin. This figure was very blurry, carrying an overwhelming murderous intent. Guan couldn't see through this figure, only that it was approaching Lu Qiuxin, and even could not calculate when it would reach behind Lu Qiuxin. This was not an approach in the conventional sense, but a closeness on a causal level. The figure was moving through some sort of causal method to attack Lu Qiuxin. Guan couldn't warn Lu Qiuxin, and it would have been useless anyway. With the River of Destiny, Lu Qiuxin couldn't resist the other's approach. Knowing beforehand was just adding to his worries. After a long while, Anexan retracted her gaze, turned her head to look at Guan, and saw her master frowning. Following her master's gaze, she could see nothing. This made her nervous. What matter or what kind of existence could make her master frown? In her eyes, there was nothing that could confound her master. Even a deceased person, her master could retrieve them from reincarnation. Guan's brow smoothed out. He turned his head to look at Anexan and smiled, asking, "Ready to go back?" Anexan nodded, saying, "It's time to go back. I now just want to cultivate properly. Even though I haven't been out for long, I seem to have more thoughts about the Immortal Emperor's eye." Guan looked at her eyes still imprinted with purple Dao patterns and nodded slightly, then turned around and walked back the way he had come. Anexan followed behind Guan, closing her eyes as she walked. With each step, she left behind a shadow identical to herself, as if it was a duplicate. 10 steps left 10 shadows. 100 steps left 100 shadows. Although Guan did not look back, he was aware of the situation behind him. He had already sensed that Nzin's Immortal Emperor's eye was not so simple. Absorbing external forces and transforming them into her own in a short time seemed powerful, but compared to his Immortal Emperor's eye divine power, it was far inferior. His Immortal Emperor's eye could twist reality and fiction, reshaping the past and erasing the future. Nzin's Immortal Emperor's eye also penetrates the past and future, but it is different from Guan's reality twisting. As they continued forward, the shadows Anexan left behind began to change. Their clothing altered and their aura shifted, reminiscent of her from different periods. Anexan slowly opened her eyes, her instincts telling her to look back. "Do not look back, maintain your current sensation." The voice of Guan came from ahead, steadying Nzin's head. She watched her master's back and her mind cleared of distractions. They were still walking on the boundless edge of the path of the Great Tao, without encountering any obstacles. Anexan felt as though she had been dreaming, waking up back inside the Taoist field of the beginningless. She turned her head and saw Xian and Qin Chuan standing in front of her master, debating something while the master had picked up a book again. She didn't feel that what happened before was a dream. She smiled meaningfully and then turned to leave, preparing to go back to her room for secluded cultivation. Shen Zhen, who was sitting in front of the artifact refining cauldron, looked at the departing figure of Anexan, frowning slightly. Previously she could see Nzin's karma and, through it, envision Nzin's past or future scenes, but now she could no longer do so. Returning from a trip with such great progress? Shen Zhen wondered curiously, her gaze then following towards Guan, her eyes filled with anticipation. Guan, hearing Xian and Qin Chuan arguing, was indifferent and did not look at Anexan but was immersed in his book. When a page flipped, it represented an era in the human world. Sir the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. After 10,000 years. Guan closed the book, stood up, stretched his body, bathed in the sunlight. His posture was so relaxed. The small wooden plaques at his waist jingled slightly, unbeknownst to anyone that they were transformed by immortals. Celestial Cyan and Tian Bai came rushing from outside the courtyard, and upon reaching Guan, they chattered non-stop about the legends they had heard. 10,000 years had passed, and many prominent figures and extraordinary talents had emerged in the human world. After the disappearance of Tian Hao, another unparalleled prodigy from the Tao court has emerged, rivaling the legends. The two compared the achievements of this eternal prodigy with those of Tian Hao, debating whose talent was stronger. Guan had already noticed this eternal prodigy who indeed could match Tian Hao, for this person was a reincarnation of an immortal god. Yes, an immortal from the celestial court. It was a maneuver by Tai Immortal Monarch. This immortal monarch is approaching, ready to descend personally into the celestial spirit great world, for the 72 immortals of the Golden Cave. As Guwen limbered up, he looked down contemplatively. Where should Tai immortal monarch be placed? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 635 Guwen vs. Immortal Monarch. Master, do you think the Emperor Tianhong of the Dao Court can match Tianhao? Celestial Cyan turned her head to look at Guwen, asking seriously. She couldn't argue with Tianbai, who always believed that no one could surpass Tianhao. However, the cultivation speed of Emperor Tianhong was not inferior to Tianhao, and his battle achievements were even more fierce, often winning across realms and even having records of one against many cross-realm victories, which were both ancient and brilliant. Coupled with the momentum built by Dao Court, the people have already forgotten Tianhao and only sing praises to Emperor Tianhong. From the comparison of battle achievements, Celestial Cyan felt that Emperor Tianhong truly wasn't weaker than Tianhao. Tianbai merely looked down on the talents from the outside out of reflex. Guwen replied, within the celestial spirit great world, no one's talent can match that of Tianhao, and he has even stronger destiny pattern yet to be unleashed. This statement made Tianbai puff out her chest involuntarily. Guwen continued, but once they leave the celestial spirit great world, there's indeed little difference between the two, and they are bound to leave the celestial spirit great world to venture into higher realms. Upon hearing this, Celestial Cyan immediately smiled and stared defiantly at Tianbai. Instead of worrying about these, it would be better to think about your own cultivation. Your innate qualities are indeed mediocre, but having cultivated by my side for so many years, you actually have the qualifications to compete with any genius in the world, said Guwen, shaking his head, causing the two women to reveal embarrassed smiles. Their nature was lively, making it difficult for them to concentrate on cultivation for long periods. What Guwen said was no false praise. Even the reincarnated immortal god, Emperor Tianhong, did not have the Miaojin Daluo immortal constantly releasing Dao intent in his previous life. Tianbai, clinging to Guwen's arm, cooed, with so many dojo disciples, there will always be someone who ranks first, we just need to not fall behind. Exactly. Recently, Blood Prison Great Saint's progress has been very fast. He is now unanimously recognized as the #1 disciple of Wuxia. I feel that Emperor Tianhong is no match for him, said Celestial Cyan, hugging Guwen's other arm with a look of agreement, standing with Tianbai against Guwen's stern criticism. Guwen said earnestly, actually in my eyes, you are not inferior to the Blood Prison Great Saint. In some respects, I even think you are the most formidable because you have each other. Just like the Dao treasures I crafted for you, they are meant to complement each other. This statement made Celestial Cyan's and Tianbei's eyes light up, and they began asking in which aspects they were considered stronger. All of a sudden, Guwen felt a bit of a headache. He was simply customarily praising them, encouraging them to cultivate actively. They could be excited, but did they have to rub against him in their excitement? After frolicking with them for a while, Guwen finally sent them back to their own cultivations. Afterward, an Xin, having received his message, appeared out of thin air in front of him and curiously asked, Master, what's the matter? Since her visit to the misty immortal court 10,000 years ago, an Xin had put aside all matters, allowing Celestial Cyan and Tianbai to coordinate with Chengkuan's sect while she remained in closed-door cultivation, studying the immortal emperor's eye. This allowed the Blood Prison Great Saint to become the undisputed strongest disciple in the dojo within 10,000 years. Should an Xin and the Blood Prison Great Saint go to battle now, the Blood Prison Great Saint would suffer a miserable defeat, according to Guwen's deduction. With the immortal emperor's eye divine power, an Xin was more than just a little stronger than the Blood Prison Great Saint. Within the same realm, Guwen even felt that Nzin's suppressive power could surpass that of Tianhao. After her visit to the misty immortal court, Nzin's immortal emperor's eye fully awakened, making her divine power extremely suitable for battle. It had been 10,000 years since Guwen and an Xin had seen each other, but for an Xin she did not feel the influence of time on herself, at least her attitude towards Guwen had not changed at all. I am about to engage in a battle, would you like to watch? Guwen asked with a smile. Upon hearing this, Nzin's eyes lit up and she nodded immediately. Just as an Xin was about to ask more questions, the scenery around them suddenly changed, and they appeared beneath the world gate in an instant. Although this was not the first time an Xin felt Guwen's divine powers, she was still startled. In these 10,000 years she could feel her own progress, which greatly boosted her self-confidence, but facing her master she still felt like a frog in a well. Anaxian did not dwell on this emotion. She turned to look, her gaze landing on the towering world gate. "What is this?" Anaxian asked curiously, sensing the boundless power of the great Tao contained within the gate, something she had never seen before. Indeed, following her master out always broadened her horizons. Guan did not keep it a secret, starting to introduce the world gate to her. Learning that this was the heavenly Tao gate leading outside the great thousand world and that beings could only leave the celestial spirit great world through this gate made Anaxian more curious. Her master didn't use the world gate to go to the misty immortal court before. Guan then shared the news of the impending arrival of Tai Immortal Monarch with her. Having already conversed with her about Tianhao's karma, she was aware of the Immortal Monarch's background. Tai Immortal Monarch was no ordinary immortal god but an existence higher than celestial gods and star monarchs. The fact that her master was about to battle such a being filled her with anticipation. Will Tai Immortal Monarch come out from within the world gate? Anaxian asked, her gaze fixed on the world gate. The inactive world gate appeared dark and mysterious, its inner space translucent, showing the cosmic scenery behind it, vast and majestic. Guan reached for the wooden token at his waist, playing with it gently and said, "Yes, soon you'll be able to witness the immortal's grandeur." Meanwhile, in a mysterious dark space, the 72 immortals of Golden Cave appeared one after another. They opened their eyes to find themselves unable to take a single step, only able to turn their heads and twist their bodies. They soon all faced one direction and looking along it, they saw a vast light screen floating in the darkness ahead, allowing them to see the scene of Guan and an Anaxian by the world gate. Source: Web Novel. Com updated on Novlov. Com Sir the Ovalfire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 635 Guan vs Immortal Monarch _2 What is this place? It seems we've been sealed by that guy and he apparently wants us to witness something. Listen carefully to their conversation. Is an immortal monarch coming? This fellow is outrageously arrogant. He is indeed powerful, but how dare he challenge an immortal monarch? Big brother, what should we do? We can't just sit here and wait for death. The 72 immortals of Jianghu were agitated, cursing Guan, and eventually, they turned their gaze towards the purple dragon star monarch. CTH Novelier. N.T. website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The purple dragon star monarch's face was expressionless. Earlier, when they were sealed into wooden tokens, they all fell into a coma, so they felt as if they had just been captured. But the purple dragon star monarch keenly sensed that a considerable amount of time might have already passed in the celestial spirit great world. If that was the case, what had Guan done to them during this time? Thinking about the methods Guan used to capture them made it hard for the purple dragon star monarch to speak and soothe everyone. He felt that Guan might indeed possess the power to contend with an immortal monarch. He was the only Taiching Golden Immortal, as well as one who attained Taiching Golden Immortal realm perfection in cultivation level, and his vision was more penetrating. In his eyes, Guan was definitely an existence of the Daluo realm. Such an existence, not belonging to the celestial court, truly made him uneasy. But there was nothing the purple dragon star monarch could do now, except to wait quietly. In reality, Guan continued talking with an Anaxian. He deliberately let the will of the 72 immortals of Jianghu fall into his own Dao fruit universe, allowing them to peek at the battle. The reason for doing this was that Guan had no intention of allowing the 72 immortals of Jianghu to leave. Immortal gods might be unkillable, but they could be sealed, and even if they would eventually be discovered by the celestial court, it would at least buy Guan some time. For the celestial court, tens of millions of years might just be a fleeting moment. From the celestial court's lack of urgency in ordering the celestial spirit god to quickly obliterate the celestial spirit great world, it was evident that their perception of time far exceeded that of mortals. Any immortal god who comes seeking trouble, he plans to seal away. If he released them directly, that would surely bring great trouble. Time passed by second by second. It wasn't until the world gate trembled that Guan and Anaxian stopped talking. Anaxian turned to face the world gate, which burst forth with intense light, converging inside. This was the light of the heavenly Tao, which enveloped the surface of the celestial spirit great world. Feeling the strong light of the heavenly Tao up close, an Xen could sense the might and unfathomable depth of the celestial court. What kind of formidable power could have created such a force of order? As the world gate was fully activated, a vast and infinite aura poured out from within, forming a majestic celestial mist that spread out, striking awe into all who witnessed it. Within the Tao Fruit universe, the 72 immortals of Jianghu became excited. The immortal monarch has come, he is here to save us, a female immortal said excitedly, her face filled with admiration. The other immortals of Jianghu were also surprised and delighted. Despite having heard from Guan and an Xin that the Tai immortal monarch would come, seeing the aura of the Tai immortal monarch actually appear stirred them deeply, even inciting a sense of sacrificial devotion to the end. On the other side, a figure gradually emerged from the intense light beneath the world gate, appearing as though he had walked from the end of the ages, or as if he had come from the very origin of everything, with an indescribable sacred aura assaulting in Xin's eyes. And Xin's eyes instantly turned into the immortal emperor's eye, with purple Tao patterns appearing around her eye sockets, and her pupils reflecting the figure of Tai immortal monarch. During the wait, an Xin had been imagining what Tai immortal monarch would look like, but when she actually saw him, she couldn't help feeling an abject sense of inferiority. This was an essential difference in the nature of life. Whether it was cultivation level, soul, or cognition, an Xin instinctively felt inferior to the other. Heaven-defying one, you dare await my arrival here. Do you know what you are about to face? The voice of Tai immortal monarch emanated from within the world gate, echoing across the cosmic starry sky. In an instant, with the world gate at the center, the space in all directions burst into multicolored rainbow light, rendering this piece of the universe bizarre and fantastical, mesmerizing and mysterious. Listening to Tai immortal monarch's words, an Xin almost felt an impulse to kneel and bow her head. Her mind was shaken, unable to fathom just how profound Tai immortal monarch's Tao practice was. Guan stepped forward and in Xin's intense discomfort suddenly vanished. She looked towards Guan subconsciously. In her eyes, Guan's image abruptly grew in stature, and he could even be compared to Tai immortal monarch who was still within the world gate. Within the Tao Fruit universe, the 72 immortals of Jianghu also fixed their gaze upon Guan's figure. In their view, the silhouette of Tai immortal monarch who was approaching them seemed almost to overlap with Guan's figure. Despite their hatred for Guan from this angle, they had to concede that Guan's presence was every bit as formidable as that of Tai immortal monarch. Fooling all living beings, isn't that also a violation of heavenly Tao? Guan's voice sounded, his tone calm. Tai immortal monarch continued to approach the gate, walking neither quickly nor slowly, but with each step, he displayed an unstoppable dominance. Finally, standing at the edge of the world gate, he remained bathed in the brilliant light of the heavenly Tao. Even an Xin could feel that with just one more step, he could reveal his true form. An Xin saw what seemed to be a scroll floating behind Tai immortal monarch. It surged like a river, and on his forehead was a golden pattern. In the absence of distinctive facial features, this golden pattern seemed like a vertical eye, making him appear even more divine, majestic, and inviolable. You dare to talk about heavenly Tao? What are you plotting against the Son of Heaven? The voice of Tai immortal monarch rang out once more, this time even more authoritative, thunderous, and deafening. Guan retorted, I do not know who the Son of Heaven is, nor what he represents. All I know is that you wish to capture my disciple. As for the current situation as an immortal monarch, how do you think it should be resolved? Tai immortal monarch fell silent, seemingly not having expected Guan to be unaware of Tianhao's origins. But that no longer mattered, as Guan had interfered with his grand plans and also captured his subordinates. Release the 72 immortals of Jianghu and hand over the Son of Heaven. Let us consider this matter settled, and you may continue to hide and cultivate in this world. It will be as if I never encountered you. Tai immortal monarch spoke, equally convinced that Guan was a heaven-opening Daluo immortal hiding in the celestial spirit great world, evidently burdened with consequences unimaginable to all living beings. Guan must not dare to face the celestial court. Separated by the strong light of the heavenly Tao, Guan was unable to use lifespan detection on Tai immortal monarch, but he could sense that Tai immortal monarch was merely of heaven-opening Daluo immortal cultivation level. Such a cultivation level was nothing to fear. You can only choose one, either the whereabouts of the Son of Heaven in your words, or the freedom of the 72 immortals of Jianghu. I need one of them to restrain you to avoid any retaliation from you, Guan stated placidly. Tai Immortal Monarch did not sense the aura of the 72 immortals of Jianghu but saw the wooden plaques on Guan's waist. No matter how he looked, those plaques appeared to be ordinary, made of common wood, without any mysteries. However, Guan's query was met with his disdain. A crude attempt at causing dissension. Do you really think you can trap the 72 immortals of Jianghu? Since you insist on setting conditions, then feel the power of the immortal gods. Tai Immortal Monarch huffed coldly and took a step forward. White hair fluttered out from the strong light of the heavenly Tao, followed by the true body of Tai Immortal Monarch. The silver immortal ribbon concealed his eyes, and his pure white Tao robe flowed like feathers. The scroll hovering behind him was unfurling, revealing a vast expanse of heaven and earth. An aura far surpassing that of Taiching golden immortals erupted completely, solidifying the Tao rules of the entire celestial spirit great world. At that moment, time stood still and everything ceased to move, save for the disciples in the Taoist field of the beginningless, who remained unaffected. However, they did not perceive the situation outside the Tao field. An Xian standing behind Guan felt it more profoundly. Faced with the might of Tai Immortal Monarch, she couldn't help but worry for her teacher. She felt that even the misty immortal court, when faced with such a terrifying presence, would likely be destroyed. Standing before the world gate, Tai Immortal Monarch slightly lifted his chin. Even with his eyes covered, his lofty demeanor was unmistakable. Regardless, an Xian thought the pride of the immortal gods was extreme, but she also felt it to be fitting, influenced by the Tao intent of Tai Immortal Monarch. It seems you are not as composed and self-assured as you appear. Have you ever pondered upon the sight of yourself kneeling before a mortal spirit? The voice of Guan rose so very cold. Source: web novel. Com updated on Novlov. Com. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 636 Celestial Emperor Bloodline. Guan's words were like the coldest sword in the world, piercing through the atmosphere of despair created by Tai Immortal Monarch, instantly dissipating the impact on an Xian. In the Tao Fruit universe, the 72 immortals of Golden Cave felt Guan was even more audacious than Tai Immortal Monarch, and this arrogance left them unable to verbalize their curses. For some unknown reason, when Guan's words fell, the 72 immortals of Jianghu all harbored the absurd thought that Tai Immortal Monarch was going to be defeated. Standing before Guan, even Tai Immortal Monarch seemed suppressed, and despite his eyes being covered by his silver celestial threads, astonishment still colored his face. Kneel before a mortal spirit? Tai Immortal Monarch asked coldly, as golden Tao patterns on his forehead burst into fierce flames, as if the anger in his heart was instantly ignited, burning fiercely. Boom, Wuxia the novel, Ire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The entire universe shattered in an instant. The fragments of space appeared like broken glass, piercing into Nzin's field of vision, her immortal emperor's eyes widening, with her purple pupils trembling. She could feel the surrounding Tao rules receding rapidly like startled birds, as an endless sea of stars distanced themselves amidst the space debris. Then, everything abruptly came to a halt. An Xian instinctively turned her head, and wherever she looked, her gaze met suspended fragments of space, layered upon one another, dazzling and alarming her simultaneously. The celestial spirit great world was destroyed. The breath of all living beings vanished. And it happened in an instant. Her gaze shifted to Tai Immortal Monarch in front of her. The world gate remained, while the overwhelmingly powerful Tai Immortal Monarch displayed the posture of an immortal god unquestionably. Merely by his aura he could shatter the great thousand world? And Nzin's mind went blank as she could only stare dumbfounded at Tai Immortal Monarch. The shattered universe fell into silence, and the strong light of the heavenly Tao within the world gate also disappeared, appearing cautious and gloomy. Just then she saw a pair of purple eyes emerging from the world gate behind Tai Immortal Monarch. That is, and Nzin's eyes widened. She recognized in a glance that those were the immortal emperor's eyes. Her master's immortal emperor's eyes. Standing behind Guan, she couldn't see his face, and with her divine sense suppressed by Tai Immortal Monarch's aura, she was intensely curious about her master's demeanor exhibiting the immortal emperor's eyes. What she was curious about was the very thing Tai Immortal Monarch feared. Tai Immortal Monarch stared at the purple light in Guan's eyes, gritting his teeth. Immortal Emperor's eyes. No wonder you have the confidence to contend with the celestial court. He stood still, not because he was stunned, but because he was suppressed by Guan's Immortal Emperor's eyes. The capability of Guan's Immortal Emperor's eyes was not just about reversing the past and altering truth, it also possessed tremendous power. Furthermore, with a higher realm than Tai Immortal Monarch, suppressing him was as easy as flipping his hand. The reason he allowed Tai Immortal Monarch to show his might was to let an Exian truly feel the strength of immortal gods as well as her own weakness. Since guiding an Exian to cultivate the Immortal Emperor's eyes, Guan truly intended to train her to be his strongest disciple. No matter how formidable Tian Hao and Hao were, they still basked in the glory of the celestial court. Although Enzin's comprehension grew stronger, she lacked a special destiny pattern and the way of cause and effect. Guan could already see Tian Hao's destiny pattern, so he was sure that the unremarkable and Exian indeed had no great background. Guan looked down indifferently at Tai Immortal Monarch, who had destroyed the celestial spirit great world with a single move, clearly because he feared he couldn't take down Guan and wanted to cause a stir to attract the attention of the celestial court. How could such behavior, treating the lives of countless beings as nothing, not be deemed extremely evil? Unfortunately for Tai Immortal Monarch, he miscalculated. Guan had not been merely engaging in idle talk with Tai Immortal Monarch previously, but instead, was enveloping the entire celestial spirit great world with his power of the way of cause and effect, isolating it from the outside world. He dared to do so because he was certain that this Tai Immortal Monarch was not an avatar, which is precisely the strength of the way of cause and effect. For an avatar, the main body is the cause. Guan did not answer Tai Immortal Monarch. In the shattered void all around, his immortal emperor's eye kept appearing, varying in sizes, densely packed, and filled with a sense of oppression. An Exian looked up and couldn't count the number of immortal emperor's eyes. At this moment she felt that her own immortal emperor's eye was weak, uncertain if she could ever reach her master's realm in this life. Inside the Tao Fruit universe, the 72 immortals of the Golden Cave had not seen the immortal emperor's eye. In their field of vision, the universe only appeared shattered, while their lord Tai Immortal Monarch fell into a bizarre stillness. As immortals, they naturally could tell that Tai Immortal Monarch was engaged in some kind of standoff with Guan. After shattering the celestial spirit great world, it was impossible for Tai Immortal Monarch to simply stop. Which means it is very likely that Tai Immortal Monarch is being suppressed. Looking again at the cosmic debris around the battlefield, the hearts of the 72 immortals of the Golden Cave couldn't help but feel a chilling dread. Purple Dragonstar Monarch furrowed his brows tightly. He was surprised and even angered by Tai Immortal Monarch's actions to destroy the celestial spirit great world. How could the immortal gods recklessly destroy the Great Thousand World? After the Great Thousand World was reconstructed, the celestial court had clearly abolished the order of destruction. Even if the destruction order were still in place, it was supposed to be the god of destruction who ends it, and not even beings with higher ranks than immortal positions should act recklessly. For the so-called Son of Heaven, should the immortal monarchs go to such lengths? Purple Dragonstar Monarch's mind was in turmoil. He was loyal to Tai Immortal Monarch, but in his heart, the celestial court held a higher place than Tai Immortal Monarch. He supported Tai Immortal Monarch in siding with the Son of Heaven, but Tai Immortal Monarch's actions made him feel that there were other schemes behind it. The Son of Heaven was reincarnated into the celestial spirit great world. Even if Tai Immortal Monarch succeeded, how would a Son of Heaven who had developed feelings for the celestial spirit great world view Tai Immortal Monarch? He did not believe that Tai Immortal Monarch had not considered this point. If so, there was only one possibility. Are you actually eyeing the celestial emperor bloodline? Purple Dragonstar Monarch's eyes revealed a color of shock, as an uncontrollable rage surged from the bottom of his heart, followed by a change in his gaze. Anger turned into disbelief. What did he see? Not only Purple Dragonstar Monarch but other Golden Cave immortals also changed their countenance drastically, some even staring dumbfoundedly, yet not a single one of the Golden Cave immortals broke the silence. All shocked, they gazed at the screen in front of them. Within the screen, Tai Immortal Monarch trembled all over, his legs beginning to bend as if he were about to kneel before Guan. Guan looked indifferent towards Tai Immortal Monarch, continuously intensifying the oppression of the Immortal Emperor's eye. He could make Tai Immortal Monarch kneel instantly, but he didn't do so. This slowly advancing despair and humiliation were more able to make Tai Immortal Monarch feel regret and fear. Even if he couldn't annihilate Tai Immortal Monarch completely, Guan still intended to leave behind an indelible fear. You, Tai Immortal Monarch clenched his teeth, spitting out a word. Having exhausted all his strength, he actually couldn't resist the oppressive force on his body. He had almost forgotten the taste of being utterly powerless to resist. He was a celestial immortal monarch, yet he was going to kneel before a mortal spirit. Tai Immortal Monarch found it absurd. Extreme rage and hatred nearly drove him mad, but madness could not save him. As time passed, the hatred of Tai Immortal Monarch was gradually replaced by despair. Source: web novel. Com updated on Novlov. Com. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 637 Absolute Power. In XN watched as Tai Immortal Monarch slowly knelt down, feeling a mix of emotions that were hard to articulate. There was a sense of relief, astonishment, and admiration for her master. At the same time, it was mostly the absurdity brought about by the collapse of the image of the immortal gods. Is this the immortal gods? Is this what represents the heavenly Tao, the existence that all living beings relentlessly pursue throughout their lives? When Tai Immortal Monarch's knees finally hit the ground, the pride of the immortal gods was completely torn apart. He lost his previous aura of divinity. Despite his eyes being covered as he lowered his head, he emanated an air of decay and weakness from the inside out. The gazes of the 72 immortals of Golden Cave also became entirely dim. They dared not, nor could they continue to curse Guan. Tai Immortal Monarch was not only their lord but also their pride. The fact that he knelt down without any power to resist was something they could not accept. Just at this moment, the shattered universe within the light screen began to change, countless space fragments reversing towards the incoming direction. This scene drew the attention of the 72 immortals of Golden Cave. Under their gaze, the celestial spirit great world was quickly restored to its original state, leaving them in awe. What kind of power is this? Purple Dragonstar Monarch was shocked by Guan's display of divine power, stirring up peculiar feelings in his heart. The immortal monarch representing the might of the celestial court was bringing about destruction. Was Guan deemed a heaven-defying being, saving all living beings? They watched as Guan raised his hand, and Tai Immortal Monarch shrank following his gesture, landing in the palm of his hand. Tai Immortal Monarch had been subdued as well. Afterward, they witnessed Guan turning Tai Immortal Monarch into a wooden token and hanging it on his waistband, amongst other tokens that looked similar to them. They finally understood what their fate would be. The light screen in front of them began to shrink, and the consciousness of the 72 immortals of Golden Cave also began to grow dim. Just like the light screen in front of them, they were being consumed by darkness. Purple Dragonstar Monarch did not worry about his fate. He was still pondering the scene of Tai Immortal Monarch kneeling. Not only him but the other Golden Cave immortals felt the same. Until everything submerged into darkness. Standing in front of the world gate, an XN looked onwards, observing the celestial spirit great world restored to its original state, and feeling the vitality in the distance. Her face showed a look of pleasant surprise. She stepped forward, walking up to Guan, and her gaze fell on his eyes. Guan did not conceal the immortal emperor's eye, allowing her to observe it. Previously, only she and Tai Immortal Monarch had seen the immortal emperor's eye. Even though the 72 immortals of Golden Cave had heard the conversation between Guan and an XN earlier, they had not seen the immortal emperor's eye nor heard the question asked by Tai Immortal Monarch before kneeling. As for Tai Immortal Monarch, Guan had ways to make him forget about the immortal emperor's eye. Apart from the path of power, Guan's greatest expertise was in the path of cause and effect. Erasing memories using the way of cause and effect was no difficult task. Master, that was not an illusion just now, was it? I saw him destroy the great thousand world? An XN asked, suppressing her excitement. Guan revealed a smile, saying, what you felt was all real. Can your immortal emperor's eye restore everything? Or does it reverse time? An XN used a respectful form of you, reflecting her emotions. Usually she would not be impolite, but due to their familiarity she would not address Guan so formally. This is also why the other disciples clearly sensed her favored status. Guan did not conceal anything and replied, my immortal emperor's eye can make what has vanished reappear and turn the existent into nothingness. He was also not afraid that an XN would later reveal the mysteries of his immortal emperor's eye. His reliance was never on the immortal emperor's eye. He simply preferred to use it at the current stage. Moreover, he could enhance his immortal emperor's eye through the evolution of his lifespan. The Immortal Emperor's eye had already been integrated into his attribute panel. As long as he could see the entries, he could enhance it endlessly. And Zin's eyes widened with amazement as she exclaimed, "That sounds so domineering. Isn't this absolute power over life and death?" Her own Immortal Emperor's eye had infinite uses, capable of devouring power and also borrowing the power from the past and future, but essentially, it relied entirely on borrowing. Compared to her master's Immortal Emperor's eye divine power, it seemed fancy but was not as impressive. "Master, compared to your Immortal Emperor's eye, mine is too weak." After the excitement, Anexan felt somewhat dejected, thinking she had disgraced the Immortal Emperor's eye. Guan raised his hand and rubbed her head, smiling. "How powerful the Immortal Emperor's eye is depends on your cultivation level. One day, you will surpass the strength of the Immortal Emperor's eye I displayed just now." Anexan was comforted, thinking to herself that her master was truly confident, believing that he could still become stronger. If her master stood so high and was still actively getting stronger, how could she wallow in self-pity? Guan, hearing her inner thoughts, was pleased. Indeed, she was the disciple he valued the most, always pondering her master's words. Sir the Oval Fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guan turned around, and with a sweep of his right hand along his belt, the wooden plaque transformed by Tai Immortal Monarch emitted a sphere of light that quickly flew into the depths of the cosmos. "What is that?" Anaxian asked curiously. Guan replied, "Immortal gods cannot be completely annihilated but only suppressed. However, I can make him suffer through the torment of reincarnation, to let him experience the feeling of reverse status." From the moment Tai Immortal Monarch destroyed the celestial spirit great world, Guan dismissed the possibility that Tai Immortal Monarch would treat Tianhao well. Destroying the celestial spirit great world might be a way to leave a backhand, to attract the attention of the celestial court, but there is also the possibility of erasing cause and effect, preventing other entities from tracking down where Tianhao went. One may act differently based on different standpoints, but Tai Immortal Monarch had no justifiable reason to destroy the celestial spirit great world, yet he did it anyway, which displeased Guan. Although the profound star Immortal Monarch presented a facade of righteousness, the followers of the golden extreme god sent by the profound star Immortal Monarch indeed have spread opportunities widely in the human world. As for arranging for the innate human race to cause disasters, this has similarities with the tribulations of heaven and earth. Guan, though not pleased, could not entirely deny it. "Why can't immortal gods be eradicated?" An Exan asked, perplexed, her tone filled with indignation. "Why should such entities be able to become immortal gods?" Guan laughed and said, "There are not so many whys. There must be a force stronger than us supporting them. Become stronger and you can change the things you cannot currently change." An Exan smiled and nodded vigorously. Afterward, Guan led her toward the celestial spirit great world. There should be a long period of peace coming next. Guan was contemplating whether he should enhance his Taoist techniques to increase his combat strength before attempting to cross the tribulation during his next breakthrough. He had already reached the second great realm of the Daluo Dao fruit realm. Based on the previous realms, the next one would be the final layer of the Daluo Dao fruit, which will undoubtedly be difficult to break through. While thinking, Guan responded to Enzin's many curiosities about the previous battle. Although the battle had astonished an Exan, she completely failed to understand it. She did not know how Tai Immortal Monarch shattered the celestial spirit great world, nor how Guan pressured Tai Immortal Monarch into kneeling. What she was most curious about was Guan's divine power that turned people into little wooden plaques. That was not a simple transformation in the typical sense. She probed with her divine sense and found that those wooden plaques seemed to be made of common wood, showing no trace of anything unusual within. Source: web novel. Com updated on Novlov. Com if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 638. The Struggle of the Celestial Army within the vastness of the world. An endless army of silver-armored celestial soldiers is besieging a terrifying figure far larger than any mountain in the human world. This figure, resembling a demon turtle, is coiled in a terrifying demonic chi, with more than 10 flood dragons rampaging within it, and upon closer inspection, it becomes clear that these flood dragons are the turtle's tails. The demon turtle is so colossal that the figures besieging it appear as tiny as dust. A mere twitch from it could cause a catastrophic tremor shaking the heavens and the earth. In the distance, Jianghu, clad in silver armor, stands shoulder to shoulder with Suyu, who is also wearing silver armor but looking somewhat awkward compared to Jianghu's dignified bearing. Jianghu looks toward the distant battle with a face full of fear and shock. Among the silver-armored celestial soldiers participating in battle, none have a cultivation level lower than theirs. Their numbers exceed 10 million, hailing from different worlds of the Great Thousand World. Yet, the gathering of so many powerful warriors fails to make an impact on the demon turtle. This is a chaos evil demon. Such demons may not be the strongest, but it is said that the chaos harbors countless ones like it. If we can subdue this one, our celestial army might have a chance to be established. Suyu spoke with a tone full of emotion. Jianghu turned to look at him, asking in surprise, with so many reserve celestial soldiers, can we really become celestial gods? Suyu gave him a disdainful glance and said irritably, becoming a celestial god is not so simple. Only by holding our ground do we have a chance. If we are lucky enough to encounter extraordinary warriors, we could ride the winds to ascend, which is better than facing the heavenly Daos trials alone. After hearing this, Jianghu once again shifted his gaze towards the distant chaos evil demon. Taking a deep breath, he leaped and joined the battle, with Suyu not lingering and following closely behind. As far as the eye can see, figures from all directions are still relentlessly charging toward the chaos evil demon, and there are always those who fall, with the vast earth strewn with blood and dismembered limbs. All those participating in this battle are either the top talents or the most powerful from various worlds. Yet, in the presence of the chaos evil demon, they seem as insignificant as insects, their spells and divine skills not even capable of dispersing the demonic chi surrounding it. At the same time, atop layers of clouds, a formidable figure overlooks it all, donned in the oppressive silver armor of the celestial court. Behind him stand two immortal gods in robes, looking down indifferently at the battle below. As immortal gods, they have witnessed countless such battles and they do not sympathize with the fallen, for anyone who has come here has done so with resolution, and even in death they harbor no regrets. The celestial calming god slowly said, "This batch of the celestial army doesn't have many with great potential. Even if they survive this ordeal, few are likely to achieve greatness." The two immortal gods behind him silently nodded, each holding a jade disc in one hand and their other hands swiftly moving as though writing something. The news that Tai Immortal Monarch had been suppressed by Guan did not spread, at least in the celestial spirit great world, except for Guan and an Xan, no one knew that Tai Immortal Monarch had been there. And after Tai Immortal Monarch's soul was cast into reincarnation, the celestial spirit great world also did not experience any significant upheavals. It wasn't until the celestial spirit god stepped out from the world gate that he stood before it, sensing something faintly, and looked at the celestial spirit great world with shock in his eyes. He could feel a trace of presence left by Tai Immortal Monarch. Tai Immortal Monarch had been here, but nothing had happened to the celestial spirit great world. What did that indicate? Search * the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. His reverence for Guan deepened. He had guessed that Guan possessed the great power to contend with Tai Immortal Monarch, but he had not thought that this battle would end in silence. What did that indicate? There could be a vast disparity between Tai Immortal Monarch and Guan. The celestial spirit god took a deep breath, a smile appearing on his face as he felt everything was heading in a favorable direction. He returned to his previous spot and sat down to continue his cultivation. Sending Tianhao to the Misty Immortal Court, he too was deeply moved. After many years, the Misty Immortal Court remained unfathomable, and his close friend had already surpassed him, filling him with a fighting spirit. To know, his talents had been acknowledged by the Celestial Court. Before becoming the Celestial Spirit God, his life was filled with nothing but cheers and praises. As the Celestial Spirit God closed his eyes, the gears of time in the human world began to speed up. A year passes as if a day. In the blink of an eye. Another 10,000 years have passed. The human world has changed beyond recognition and countless living beings have come and gone, yet the faces governing heaven and earth haven't changed much. This year, as spring ended, Guan stood at the mountaintop, facing the wind as he stood upright. An hour earlier he had used the lifespan projection feature, hoping to enhance his path of power. To him now, spending 1 trillion years of his lifespan wasn't too painful. After the consumption he still had over 14 trillion years left. As the projection ended, a prompt appeared before his eyes, and he couldn't help but close his eyes to start feeling the insights of the path of power. The spiritual energy between heaven and earth suddenly halted, and the Tao rules began to change, causing the creatures on this land to feel suppressed. This time, Guan didn't pass on his Tao insights within a dojo. Instead, he deliberately chose a continent with a less advanced immortal cultivation atmosphere for the transfer of his insights. As Guan pursued enlightenment, the power of the great Tao began to pour into this mainland. Countless cultivators felt uneasy due to the change in nature's spiritual energy, but before long, they felt an inexplicable sense that made them subconsciously review the cultivation techniques they've mastered. Soon, this continent fell into silence as the influence of Guan's pursuit of enlightenment continued to expand, reaching out towards the oceans and other continents. After a long while, Guan's enlightenment came to an end, and he opened his eyes, then disappeared from the spot. After his departure, silhouettes streaked across the sky. These people carried the aura of saints, like enlightened ascetics, observing the mountains and rivers along the way as if in search of something. Guan arrived in a city of the human world in one step. It was a mortal city with only a few cultivators who kept their cultivation levels hidden, unknown to others. He entered a bookshop and started to peruse the collection. His thoughts drifted to Jianghu of the Tai's great world. Jianghu had suddenly disappeared for a few thousand years, and even Guan could not divine his karma. Guan speculated it was related to the celestial court. Fortunately, Jianghu later returned unharmed to the Tai's great world, so Guan did not think too much about it. Whenever Jianghu and Suyu mentioned the celestial court, Guan could not hear nor deduce anything. Perhaps this was why the celestial court was so mysterious. Even reaching the Daoyuo Dao fruit realm, one cannot pry into the celestial court's karma. Although Jianghu had returned, his will was clearly dejected, and Guan hesitated whether to give him some guidance or not. Guan could guess that Jianghu might have suffered a setback in the land of the celestial court. Most likely, he failed in competing for a celestial Dao immortal position with other outstanding figures, or lost hope and was hugely hit. On the other hand, Suyu was unaffected and started to frolic in the human world and stopped cultivating after returning to the Tai's great world. Guan thought about these things, but soon his attention was caught by the books in his hands. When it comes to writing, books by mortals are indeed more delightful to read. Those written by cultivators are too utilitarian and lack the delicacy in expressing human emotions. Dear customer, if you like this Yen Lao's Secret Lover, why not buy it? If you purchase the whole set, it'll even include original character illustrations drawn by the author. The bookkeeper approached enthusiastically. Guan closed the book in his hands, put it back on the shelf, and turned to leave. Seeing this, the bookkeeper's face showed displeasure. Looking decent enough, but why only look and not spend any money? How stingy. Shopkeeper, take out all the illustrations you mentioned. I'll buy them, said Guan, his voice drifting back, clearing the cloud from the bookkeeper's face and bringing a beaming smile. All right. Dear customer, just give me a moment. Source, web novel. Com updated on Novlov. Com if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 639. The world's #1 determination. The setting sun dipped below the horizon within the Taoist field of the beginningless. Humming a tune, Guan walked along the mountain path, feeling rather pleased and occasionally reaching out to touch the flowers and plants along the way. After half a day of contemplation, he decided not to assist Jianghu, but rather to let Jianghu solve his own predicaments. His intention was to ensure the preservation of Jianghu's life. He was also curious to see how Suyu would help Jianghu become one of the heavenly court immortals. Upon reaching the courtyard atop the mountain, as soon as Guan entered, the long-awaiting celestial Cyan and Tianbai approached him. Aside from them, only Shenzhen and the white spirit rat were in the courtyard. Master, Emperor Tianhong wishes to be disciples at the Taoist field of the beginningless. What do you think? Celestial Cyan asked first. Tianbai also looked at Guan with anticipation. Early this morning, Emperor Tianhong from the Tao court arrived at the Chengkuan sect, causing a huge commotion. He proclaimed his desire to become a disciple of the beginningless, an announcement that startled the upper echelons of the Chengkuan sect, prompting them to call upon Celestial Cyan and Tianbai. 20,000 years ago, Wuxia disciples emerged, saving all living beings. Although it was ultimately the supporting Tao Sword Venerable who reversed the tides of chaos, the exploits and great fame of the Wuxia disciples remained illustrious. These disciples, with realms not considered top-tier during their time, wielded mysterious Tao treasures and were undefeated, leaving a profound impression on all the major sects of the world. The location of the beginningless was easy to speculate, so it was not surprising that the Tao court disciples managed to find the Qingkuan sect. However, Emperor Tianhong, the most illustrious figure post-catastrophe of the innate human race, expressing a desire to join the beginningless, caused a tremor throughout the Qingkuan sect. The Qingkuan sect was itself established with the support of the beginningless, so they held it in good esteem, feeling that if a personage like Emperor Tianhong were to switch his allegiance to the beginningless, it would bode well for them, perhaps even securing him as a connection for their future. Guan replied offhandedly, "Do not accept him, and also inform everyone under the heavens that the beginningless does not recruit disciples. Those fated will join the beginningless naturally." Even if Emperor Tianhong were not a pawn of the Tai immortal monarch, he still would not accept him. He only takes disciples based on a connection of fate. As for talent, it is secondary. The world is vast, brimming with countless geniuses. Though the Blood Prison Great Saint is currently the undisputed top disciple in the dojo, there are many across the world whose talent surpasses his. In this new era, every so often, an extraordinary genius carrying the destiny of heaven and earth is born, and ordinary humans with lifespans reaching the limit of 9,999 years can be found everywhere. On his occasional travels, Guan has encountered such individuals with the ultimate lifespan, merely giving them a second glance without the inclination to take disciples. Master, Emperor Tianhong's fame is unparalleled, and with Tianhao gone, no one in the world can compare to him. If we accept him, it will surely enhance the renown of our beginningless. If you do not wish to teach him personally, you can let us accept him as disciples, Celestial Cyan continued, having encountered increasingly more fame and fortune since managing Qingkuan sect on behalf of an XN, which also caused a shift in their thoughts. They wanted the beginningless to be renowned across the world, to become the preeminent Holy Land. They believed that with Guan, the beginningless was incomparable to any Tao court. Circling around them, Guan walked towards his own room while saying, "I do not seek fame. If you wish to chase after vanity, you are free to go out and establish your own sect in the future." Hearing this, Celestial Cyan and Tianbai looked at each other. They dared not persuade Guan any further. In front of the artifact refining cauldron, Shenzhen glanced at them and shook her head slightly, but said nothing. Even the disciples within the Taoist field of the beginningless were starting to pursue fame and fortune. It seemed the world was likely to become embroiled in conflict once again. Thinking this, Shenzhen, who has long contemplated the path of cause and effect, gained deeper insights into the movement of destiny in the world. The world has been reshaped for nearly 100,000 years. Besides the earlier calamities wrought by the innate human race in the human world, a peaceful backdrop has always prevailed. However, human hearts are restless and disputes will inevitably arise. But even if chaos engulfs the world, what concern is it of hers? Shenzhen withdrew her thoughts and continued her contemplation of the great Tao. After staying in place for a while, Celestial Cyan and Tianbai went to the Qingkuan sect to reject Emperor Tianhong. They waited until night fell. The two women returned. Walking through the forest, they stopped before a stream. Celestial Cyan turned her head, her peripheral vision glancing back, and said, "Please return, further ahead is unauthorized entry into Wuxia." A figure emerged from the deep woods, an attractive man dressed in blue with an extraordinary demeanor, unable to hide the pride between his eyebrows. He was none other than the current first pride of Tao court, Emperor Tianhong. Emperor Tianhong looked at the two women and said, "I will not force my way into Wuxia. I just want to prove my determination to the supporting Tao sword venerable." Celestial Cyan and Tianbai crossed the stream and then turned to face Emperor Tianhong. Emperor Tianhong approached the stream, lifted his robe and knelt on the spot. Seeing this, a glimmer of joy passed through the eyes of the two women. Although they had refused Emperor Tianhong, deep down they still hoped that Wuxia could have such an exceptional talent like him, so that the name of Wuxia would become even more widespread. They did not dare to defy Guan, and could only hope that Emperor Tianhong could sway Guan with his own efforts. Tianbai warned, "If you cross this river without permission, you may not only forfeit your chance of entering Wuxia but also face irrecoverable doom." Emperor Tianhong, kneeling before the river, puffed out his chest and raised his head, his expression resolute. Despite no reply, he had already revealed his determination. Celestial Cyan and Tianbai turned and left, disappearing into the night. Beneath the night sky, the mountains and forests were tranquil, with occasional insects chirping, calming Emperor Tianhong's heart. Even though he was currently regarded as the foremost prodigy in the world, Emperor Tianhong felt no humiliation as this was his choice. Memories from thousands of years ago surfaced in his mind. He had wandered the world, visiting a place known as the Taitsong continent. Hearing that the supreme sect had once been blessed by an immortal, he went there to explore. It was not until he stepped onto the heaven-repairing platform and grasped the axe that he knew. After a brief moment of astonishment, he firmed up a thought in his mind. He must acquire this legacy. Unable to lift the heaven-splitting axe, he could only pursue the supporting Dao sword venerable. He returned to the Dao court and, using the court's power, eventually discovered that the venerable was hidden within the Nine-Spirit continent. Sir, the novel Fire. Net * website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. To break away from the Dao court, he did not immediately head to the Nine-Spirit continent. Instead, he spent thousands of years fervently completing Dao court tasks as his reply to the Dao court. His will also attracted the attention of the master of the Dao court, Yuan Songzi, who, after understanding his determination, also expressed support. Yuan Songzi knew better than Emperor Tianhong the strength of the supporting Dao sword venerable. In Yuan Songzi's eyes, following the venerable for cultivation, Emperor Tianhong would be able to display even greater talent and truly surpass Tianhao. With the support of his sect, Emperor Tianhong felt lighter about this journey. He had anticipated hitting a wall, so he was not in a hurry. For him now, waiting was blissful, his heart filled with endless anticipation. He was delighted throughout this entire night. Days passed by. Celestial Cyan Tianbai and White Spirit Rat occasionally passed by him, but he remained unmoved, kneeling before the river. After kneeling for 10 years, his state of mind was still without ripples. However, when he had knelt for hundreds of years and still had not seen the supporting Dao sword venerable, a sense of panic finally began to emerge in his heart. He had abandoned everything and came with determination. If he couldn't enter as a disciple under the supporting Dao sword venerable, how would he face the Dao court? How would he establish himself in this world? A myriad of thoughts began to invade Emperor Tianhong's mind, his hands clenching his knees, exerting a slight force. Source: web novel. Com updated on Novlov. Com. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 640. Kneeling for 10,000 years. Emperor Tianhong's heart was in turmoil. Although everything in his eyes had not changed with the passage of 100 years, he felt a tremendous malice. He couldn't imagine the situation he would face returning to the Dao court after failing to become a disciple. Let alone the Dao court. When he came to the Chengkuan sect, how many disciples of the Chengkuan sect watched him? The more he thought about it, the more panicked he became, even developing a sense of rage in his heart. This anger was so confused even he couldn't tell whom it was directed at. Hate the supporting Dao sword venerable? But supporting Dao sword venerable had no reason or obligation to take him in. If anyone was to blame, it was his own insufficient talent. The supporting Dao sword venerable had taken Tianhao as a disciple, and Tianhao was the champion of his era before him. Since before his birth, Tianhao had vanished, so there were always people who believed he was not the strongest champion of all time because he never defeated Tianhao. After the tribulation of the innate human race, everyone knew that Tianhao was a disciple of the supporting Dao sword venerable, which made Tianhao even more legendary. When Tianhao disappeared, people liked to use him to suppress the geniuses of the world. In fact, while Tianhao was alive, he also endured the same doubts Emperor Tianhong faces today. But regardless, without defeating Tianhao, Emperor Tianhong could not truly consider himself the greatest champion through the ages. Emperor Tianhong's thoughts ran wild uncontrollably. Even though reason told him that 100 years was nothing, he couldn't help but dwell on it. Kneeling by the small river, as he gazed at his own reflection on the water's surface, Emperor Tianhong suddenly felt very vulnerable and truly unworthy of the title of the world's #1 champion. It was at that moment he saw a figure emerging from the depths of the forest on the opposite side. As he made out the person's face, a confused expression appeared on his own. It was neither Celestial Cyan nor Tianbai. He had never seen this woman before. The newcomer was an Xian. An Xian, in her cyan dress with delicate makeup, had cool and distant eyes and brows, resembling a fairy living reclusively in the mountains. Her aura, untainted by the mundane world, caused Emperor Tianhong's gaze to shift. An Xian saw Emperor Tianhong, her expression as cold as ever. She walked to the front of the river and stopped. Her gaze landed on Emperor Tianhong, her eyes without a ripple of emotion. I heard you are the Tao Court's #1 talent and the strongest one in the world today. We are both divine immortals of wondrous Dharma. How about we spar? An Exian spoke, her tone allowing no refusal. Emperor Tianhong frowned and asked, "May I ask if fellow Taoist is a Wuxia disciple?" An Exian answered, "I am considered the foremost disciple of Wuxia. If you defeat me you will be eligible to join Wuxia." Upon hearing this, Emperor Tianhong's eyes blazed with a fierce light. Having knelt and waited for 100 years, his mood was already irritable. With Nzin's sudden approach, it seemed like the very opportunity he had been yearning for. He wanted to show the sword venerable his talent. Emperor Tianhong stood up, with mud and grass falling from his legs. His aura changed abruptly, the wild wind howled, causing the surrounding trees to shake violently. "Where shall we spar?" Emperor Tianhong asked, his intense gaze domineering, his hair dancing wildly like flames. Nzin's eyes flickered with purple light. She replied indifferently, "No need to go elsewhere, right here will do. It will be over quickly." See the novel Fire. Net ** website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Emperor Tianhong felt humiliated, his robe began to billow, a terrifying aura emanated from within him. Meanwhile, inside an inn belonging to the Jianghu sect, Guan was drinking with his friends who enjoyed meat and wine, when suddenly they felt a terrifying aura coming from afar. This wine and meat friend named Qiuzhua exclaimed in shock and suspicion. Could it be someone is causing trouble within the sect? Although the Jianghu sect of today is far from comparing to the Tao Court, in the eyes of the rank-and-file disciples, the Jianghu sect is an authentic and major power, dominating a region. Whoever dares to cause trouble within the Jianghu sect is truly seeking death. Guan laughed and said, "Since it's happening within the sect, why should we worry? Let's keep drinking and continue talking about Yi Lang's affairs." Yi Lang, the offspring of the sect hierarchy Qingshan, may not be considered outstanding in terms of talent within the Yi family, but with his free-spirited and unrestrained character, he always manages to do things that become the subject of much gossip. Qiuzhua thought that Guan's words made sense, so he resumed recounting the tales of Yi Lang's amorous exploits. The terrifying aura appeared abruptly and dissipated just as quickly. The entire process took less than 10 breaths, which led to much speculation among the disciples of the Jianghu sect in various cities. In the forest, Emperor Tianhong was half kneeling in front of a river, one hand propped against his knee, the other dangling naturally as he laboriously raised his head to look up, his face covered in cold sweat and bloodshot eyes. An Exian stood on the opposite side of the river, about a zhang away from him, her purple pupils gradually retracting their unusual shimmer. Compared to Emperor Tianhong's face full of shock and fear, Nzin's expression remained indifferent. How is this possible? What divine skill was that just now? Emperor Tianhong ground his teeth and asked. He couldn't accept his own crushing defeat, especially since it was at the hands of someone in the same realm. An Exian replied, "This is a divine skill taught to me by my master. You don't need to feel sad about it. Although we are in the same realm, I reached this realm long before you were born. Your talent is still higher than mine, but it's not so simple to get accepted into Wuxia." Having said this, she stepped forward and flickered past Emperor Tianhong, heading toward the Jianghu sect. Emperor Tianhong looked down and asked through clenched teeth, "Did the sword venerable send you here?" "He doesn't have that kind of leisure time. I just sensed that your Tao heart was wavering. It's only been a century, yet you can't hold on, which disappoints those in the dojo who have expectations for you. However, retreating is also not a problem. There are many paths in the world and you don't necessarily have to enter Wuxia." An Exian didn't stop her steps, her figure gradually disappearing into the distance. Upon hearing this, Emperor Tianhong's pupils dilated, and a color of shame surged in his heart. Indeed, it's only been a century. What is a century to cultivators? Memories of the previous battle flashed through Emperor Tianhong's mind, and his eyes became fervent. Being such formidable Wuxia disciples serves to prove the profound heritage of Wuxia. Even if it takes 1,000 years or 10,000 years, he must enter Wuxia. Emperor Tianhong straightened his spine and knelt once more. This time, he swept away his previous impatience, and his gaze returned to the steadfastness of when he had first arrived. A gentle breeze passed by, lifting the hair beside his ears. Amidst the sound of the wind, he seemed to hear the supporting Tao sword venerable calling out to him. Calling out the word disciple. Emperor Tianhong's lips curved upwards, for Nzin's strength made him long for Wuxia all the more. Years went by quickly. When tens of thousands of years had once again passed, the forest where Emperor Tianhong was located seemed unchanged, as if secluded from the world, unaffected by the rules of heaven and earth. There was no alteration in Emperor Tianhong's attire, but his hair had grown longer, and his beard reached the ground. He kept his eyes closed, his whole being radiating an aura of profound mystery. Not far off, on a tree branch, Guan and an XN stood side by side, observing Emperor Tianhong. An XN spoke up, "Master, if you truly do not wish to accept him, shall I drive him away?" Emperor Tianhong's decade-long kneeling did not only move her. Other disciples of the dojo also became aware of this man's determination and were touched by it. As the #1 prodigy of the world, he has managed to patiently kneel in this place for tens of thousands of years, which is unimaginable how resolute his determination is. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 641 Celestial Plan Chaos Grudge Luo. No need, I didn't say I'd definitely not take him as a disciple. Guan looked down at Emperor Tianhong and replied softly. The reasons he did not take Emperor Tianhong as a disciple were, firstly, he did not favor him, and secondly, Emperor Tianhong was a reincarnation of an immortal god, with the consequences of Tai immortal monarch's karma trailing behind. However, reincarnation creates a new personality. Judging from Emperor Tianhong's inner voice, he genuinely wished to take Guan as his master. The reason why Guan was hesitating was because he wanted to wait until he achieved his own breakthrough before accepting him, using the opportunity to further temper Emperor Tianhong. An XN remarked with emotion, "If it were Tianhong kneeling, managing to kneel for 100 years would be already quite good." Setting aside talent, she felt that even she herself wouldn't be able to kneel for 10,000 years. Guan's eyes did not show any change as he gazed at Emperor Tianhong, probing into his future. Standing near Emperor Tianhong, he still did not notice the two of them. After kneeling for 10,000 years, Emperor Tianhong had entered a state of self-forgetfulness. He was contemplating the natural laws of heaven and earth, thus forgetting the torment of time. "By the way, Master, how is Tianhong faring these days?" An Xian turned to Guan and asked curiously. She believed her master could see the situation of the misty immortal court. Guan smiled and said, "Mixed blessings, but in any case he won't die." Hearing this, an Xian was completely relieved, and then she began to talk about the affairs of the world. Over the years, she occasionally replaced Celestial Cyan and Tianbai in dealings with the Chengkuan sect. After all, she couldn't let the two always be busy, she also needed time to relax. The current world could be said to be in the same state every millennium, with heroes coming forth in great numbers. The ruling power of the Tao court was weakening, mainly due to the rising number of forces. The Tao court, upholding the Tao, could only watch as other powers grew stronger. With more and more powerful forces emerging, the strife in the world would naturally increase. However, compared to the calamity brought by outer heaven, the conflicts within the world seemed trivial. An Xian talked about a prodigy that had risen in the Tao court in the recent 10,000 years. It was undeniable that the Tao court had a profound foundation. Just as Emperor Tianhong had left for 10,000 years, another #1 prodigy emerged, and now people were using Emperor Tianhong to suppress this prodigy. Without initiating a war, it seems that only creating momentum can maintain the Tao court's absolute ruling position, said an Xian in a teasing tone. Guan did not comment on the Tao court. He had a deeper understanding of it than an Xian did, as he often stayed at the Tao court to accompany Xiaolan. Xiaolan had good talent, and with the support from Guan's Tao intent, she had always been one of the top prodigies of the Tao court. However, because she disliked public attention, the title of the #1 prodigy never fell upon her. Recently, the Tao court was preparing to initiate the Celestial Plan, aiming to search for other great thousand worlds. Having no intention to suppress the sects within the world, they sought to pursue stronger powers and greater resources. Such ambitions filled most of the upper echelons with pride, feeling that they possessed a higher vision than the world's sects, embodying the magnanimity of the world's common lord. Guan thought the Tao court's idea was quite good, and he was ready to ask the celestial spirit god to help facilitate it. Born in the celestial spirit great world, he also wanted to see different developments from the past emerge there. If every era was headed towards destruction, then Guan's effort in saving all living beings would lose its purpose. His decision was not to let the Tao court grow unbridled, but he felt that cultivators should always climb higher and chase after the great Tao. The existence of the World Gate seemed more like a restraint on the development of cultivators. No matter how one looked at it, the World Gate did not seem like a natural phenomenon. At this moment, Guan was considering whether or not to allow the disciples of his dojo to venture out. He had his disciples in seclusion all year round in order to accumulate their strength, not to limit their freedom. His greatest concern was Qin Xuan. When Xiao Chuan was first reincarnated as Qin Xuan, he encountered a mysterious karmic force that cursed him, nearly causing the death of his parents. When the innate human race caused trouble, Qin Xuan went out for experiences and did not suffer from the curse again, which is why Guan considered letting him go out as well. After much deliberation, Guan decided to leave the choice to Qin Xuan. "Let's go for a walk outside." Having said this, Guan jumped down, followed closely by an XN. They passed by Emperor Tianhong, with Guan even giving his shoulder a light pat. Emperor Tianhong seemed to sense something, opened his eyes but saw nothing. He thought it was just a breeze. Perhaps it was because he had knelt for such a long time that he didn't rush to enter Wuxia. He felt that his current state was conducive to enlightenment. The path of power, strange, how did I come to comprehend such a forceful great Tao? Emperor Tianhong muttered to himself, not thinking it was because his talent was too strong. He had never felt like this in the Tao court before. He had a realization in his heart. Even though the supporting Tao Sword Venerable had not shown himself, with an XN probing him, it was impossible for the Sword Venerable to not be aware of him. Perhaps his current insights were a gift from the supporting Tao Sword Venerable. Emperor Tianhong was not surprised, for even without such a gift, he would persist. The greatest benefit of kneeling for 10,000 years was that he had shed the pressure brought on by being called the foremost of the proud celestials. Vain titles are but passing clouds. He is Emperor Tianhong. He wanted to find the true meaning of his existence. Above the boundless sea of clouds, an enormous golden furnace floated. On its surface were engraved various divine beast patterns and majestic mountains and rivers, and crowning it were some towering peaks, exuding a grand presence. The yellow-robed Taoist, who had played Go with Tai Immortal Monarch earlier, stood at the edge of a cliff, looking down at the world inside the furnace. The furnace interior was a world unto itself with mountains and rivers, and even fierce beasts fighting. The robust Tao spiritual qi would rush up like the wind from time to time. The yellow-robed Taoist furrowed his brows, deep in thought. Right at that moment, a golden ring of light appeared beside him, quickly expanding, and a figure stepped out from within. The newcomer was the celestial calming god. The leader of the celestial army, whom Jianghu and Suyu had pledged allegiance to, was the celestial calming god. The celestial calming god raised his hand in salute and said, "Immortal monarch, anomalies from chaos are emerging in the 3,000 great worlds, rapidly dispersing to each of the great 1,000 worlds. One of these anomalies has even come to trial under my command. This is not good." Sar the Nell Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The one known as Huang Feng Immortal Monarch, the yellow-robed Taoist, tilted his head to look at him and asked, "Anomalies from chaos? Which anomaly?" The celestial calming god responded, "It should be Chaos Grudge Luo. I have captured immense resentment from the soul's depths of that infiltrator. If left unchecked and allowed to spread rapidly, it will become a great calamity." Grudge Luo? The eyes of Huang Feng Immortal Monarch flickered, sinking into contemplation. The celestial calming god stopped speaking, waiting for Huang Feng Immortal Monarch's command. After a long while, Huang Feng Immortal Monarch spoke, "Do not act rashly for now. Perhaps Grudge Luo's existence is linked to bigger karma and causality." The celestial calming god frowned, hesitated for a moment and said, "If left unchecked, many living beings will die. If we don't eradicate the roots of this disaster along with it, even more living beings will die." The words of Huang Feng Immortal Monarch caused the celestial calming god's frown to deepen. He gave Huang Feng Immortal Monarch a long look, no longer objecting. Huang Feng Immortal Monarch still stared into the world within the golden furnace and said, "Since you're here, take this trip for me. Go to Profound Star Immortal Monarch and deliver this item to him." With that, he lifted his right hand, and a piece of Jianghu enveloped by billowing purple qi appeared in his palm, swiftly flying towards the celestial calming god. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 642 True Immortal's Appearance. In the blink of an eye, 1,000 years have passed. In the Tao Court, within Xiaolan's grotto heaven, Guan and Xiaolan were sitting in a small pavilion, drinking and chatting. Xiaolan was talking about the celestial plan she had just learned about, and she wanted to venture into the outer heaven. Guan listened attentively, but his thoughts were on his own lifespan. His lifespan had accumulated to over 2 trillion years, and currently he gains about 50 million years annually, even without expanding Medicine Valley. Brother Gu, do you think I should join the celestial plan? Xiaolan asked hesitantly. She wanted to join to experience a broader world and have the chance for greater opportunities, but she couldn't take Guan with her and didn't know how many years it would take before she could return. Guan smiled and said, "If you want to go, then go. If you're worried about me, there's no need. Just think about it, you often seclude yourself for cultivation and I still live well. I have many friends in the Tao Court, I am not alone. Go ahead and venture, I will wait for you here to return." Upon hearing this, Xiaolan's face lit up with a smile, as Brother Gu was always so supportive of her. Thinking about it, Guan managed to stay in the Tao Court for tens of thousands of years without any issue, which proves his capability in handling affairs. She didn't have such a big influence in the Tao Court, even peerless prodigies and great figures occasionally find themselves in trouble. Xiaolan continued, "My master also wants me to advance, to strive for the top treatment as the first prodigy in the Tao Court." After Emperor Tianhong left, although the Tao Court promoted another unparalleled prodigy, there's a clear gap compared to Emperor Tianhong. My master said I have a chance to take the title of the top prodigy, and she will mobilize all her connections to build momentum for me. Guan listened carefully. Where there are people, there are rivalries like those of the martial world, especially in a major power like the Tao Court, where the internal power struggles are extremely fierce. Behind each prized prodigy, there are numerous cultivators striving to support them. The number of cultivators in the Tao Court is countless, many are unknown geniuses or powerhouses. The reason for their obscurity is due to lack of promotion. Talking about Emperor Tianhong, Xiaolan sighed, "I have seen Emperor Tianhong, he truly had an imposing presence, making one feel at first sight that he could make a name for himself in the world. The Tao Court also treated him very well, giving him the best resources. Yet he chose to go and apprentice under the supporting Tao Sword Venerable. I heard that the supporting Tao Sword Venerable has repeatedly saved the world, truly a true immortal of the human world, but how can Wuxia compare to the Tao Court?" Guan laughed, "Maybe what he's pursuing is a stronger Taoist technique. Cultivation lies in the individual. Although the Wuxi's disciples are famous for a while, their cultivation level is not far superior to the contemporary talents. Mainly they rely on the Tao treasures of the beginningless to fight, which shows the cultivation resources Wuxia can provide are not top-notch. After all, they reside hidden in a small corner of the world." Xiaolan shook her head, saying she didn't know much about the supporting Tao Sword Venerable, but in her view the Tao Court is the strongest sect. After all, she belongs to the Tao Court. Guan found her questioning of Wuxia interesting and added, "Anyway, this is your opportunity. The road to immortal cultivation is extremely long, and everyone has their choices. You once made a decision that others around you didn't understand, which was to always take me with you." Xiaolan blinked and said, "That's different." During the conversation, she moved closer to Guan, tightly hugging his arm. "If something happens to Brother Gu one day, and I need to give up my cultivation, I will not hesitate. TSK, aren't you cursing me? Hey, I am expressing my true feelings here, why aren't you moved? I do not hope for that day to come, and I will not let you face such a choice." Guan raised his hand and wrapped it around Xiaolan's waist, speaking softly. Xiaolan feels very happy in this life, now without any worries in her heart, something Guan is pleased to see and will do his best to maintain. Unlike dealing because she was his junior sister, Guan accompanied her in person. The mature medicinal herbs could afford a delay of a month. After Xiaolan left Grotto Heaven, Guan then went to other medicine valleys to start collecting medicinal herbs. As Xiaolan began to pursue the higher great Tao of heaven and earth, Guan felt that he also needed to step up and improve the lifespan and income of each medicine valley. Xiaolan followed the Tao Court and flew in the void for several years before finally arriving at the legendary World Gate. There were hundreds of people on this journey. Like her, there were 20 geniuses in total, the others were great cultivators of the Tao Court, all with cultivation levels above the Zizai Immortal realm, and leading them was Yuan Songzi, the master of the Tao Court. Yuan Songzi performed the cloud ascending technique, carrying everyone as they flew together. CTH Fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Above the clouds, Xiaolan gazed far into the distance at the world gate, utterly astonished by it. Even though she was a divine immortal of wondrous dharma, she instinctively felt overwhelmed. The majestic aura of the great Tao made her breath quicken. It was not just her, the other cultivators felt the same. Except for Yuan Songzi, it was the first time for everyone else to see the world gate. They quickly landed on the square in front of the world gate. Yuan Songzi walked briskly forward and bowed to the celestial spirit god in front of him. Everyone's gaze fell on the celestial spirit god who was shrouded in the celestial Tao immortal light, rendering his true appearance inscrutable. Is this the true form of an immortal god? Xiaolan marveled inwardly, feeling somewhat regretful. Such a majestic celestial gate, such formidable immortal gods, and Brother Gu could not see it. Truly a great regret in life. In the human world, 99% of cultivators spend their entire lives unable to witness the form of an immortal. The celestial spirit god did not speak, but the world gate behind him began to tremble, and strong light from the heavenly Tao burst forth. Everyone pass by the celestial god in turn and pay respects. Follow me through the gate. Yuan Songzi spoke as he turned back, then walked towards the intense light inside the world gate. The others followed closely, each person's presence affecting the celestial spirit god as they approached. When it was Xiaolan's turn, she also bowed, but whether it was an illusion or not, she felt the celestial spirit god's form seemed to change, but she didn't dare to look closely and quickly moved away. After everyone from the Tao court had vanished into the world gate, the celestial spirit god opened his eyes, the celestial Tao immortal light dispersed, and he murmured with a frown, "Strange, why did that girl make my heart flutter? Could it be?" The celestial spirit god suddenly guessed a possibility, his expression turning peculiar. He raised his eyes to look towards the celestial spirit great world, his gaze landing beside the Chengkuan sect. He couldn't probe Wuxia, but he could see Emperor Tianhong's kneeling figure. He could also sense that Emperor Tianhong was a reincarnation of an immortal god, so he was curious about how Guan would treat Emperor Tianhong. His gaze then shifted to the human world, but unfortunately no matter how he searched he could not find the reincarnated form of Tai Immortal Monarch. And he did not know where Tai Immortal Monarch was suffering. As it happens, this is already the second immortal god to descend and suffer. Will there be more immortal gods reincarnated and suffering in the celestial spirit great world due to offending Guan? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 643, Zhao Russian, the struggle of the Taoist emperor. The sunlight, filtering through the gaps in the leaves, shone onto the river, creating a golden phosphorescence. Emperor Tianhong was still kneeling by the river, his beard touching the ground, knees deep in the mud, his eyes closed, his black hair spilling out. He seemed to merge with the forest, his breath natural. Thousands of years have passed since Xiaolan left, and Emperor Tianhong has been kneeling there for over 21,000 years. Footsteps approached from behind, and a man dressed in black appeared. He was handsome, with his black hair coiled up under a headpiece, a sword and a gourd hanging at his waist. He was like an unsheathed treasure sword, impossible to restrain. The legendary foremost pride of the world, Emperor Tianhong, nurtured by the Tao court to be the Taoist emperor, yet kneeling here unable to rise. It seems the supporting Tao sword venerable holds you in low regard. Do you have any regrets? The man in black stopped, his voice cold as he stared at Emperor Tianhong's back. Without opening his eyes, Emperor Tianhong asked softly, "Who are you?" His voice was slightly hoarse as if he hadn't spoken in a long time. "Zhao Russian, I too am known as the foremost pride of the world," the man in black answered coldly. Emperor Tianhong remained silent. Zhao Russian continued, "You might not recognize me, but I have seen you. When I first entered the Tao court with no prominent talents, I saw you returning from slaying demons, and the entire city's disciples shouting your name. You were who I, and all disciples, aspired to become." Listening to him, Emperor Tianhong still did not utter a sound. "You left the Tao court making me who I am today. I received substantial support from the Tao court, becoming the new foremost pride of the world, sweeping through peers of my realm. I fought across the land for 1,000 years without rest. Yet, many compare me to you, saying I have not defeated you, and do not deserve the title of the foremost in the world." As Zhao Russian spoke, he paused, his gaze sharpening. "So, you came to challenge me?" Emperor Tianhong asked, still not rising, clearly unworried about Zhao Rushan launching a surprise attack. Actually, in my heart, I also feel inferior to you, Zhao Rushan stated calmly, taking a step forward as he continued. Now I too follow the path of pursuing the Taoist emperor, which is the legacy left by the Ting master before his departure. He said both you and I are qualified to achieve the Taoist emperor, to lead the Tao court to unprecedented heights. Come back, since Wuxia looks down on you, why endure humiliation here? Do you know your deeds have spread across the world, and everyone knows the unparalleled pride cultivated by the Tao court kneels in front of Wuxia sect? Do you realize how much criticism the court has faced? Gradually, Emperor Tianhong opened his eyes, his gaze still full of vitality, unaffected by the passage of time. I am no longer a disciple of the Tao court. Please return, Emperor Tianhong replied softly. He looked across the river, his gaze shifting left and right as if searching for something. Zhao Rushan furrowed his brows, his right hand resting on the sword scabbard at his waist. Junior, this is not a place for you to act recklessly. A clear, cold voice came from ahead, startling Zhao Rushan to look up, only to see two figures walking out from the depths of the forest across the river. It was an Xan and Qin Xuan. Seeing an Xan, Emperor Tianhong's gaze turned somewhat complicated. He couldn't forget that crushing defeat. He still thinks about what exactly those eyes looked like. Qin Xuan followed by Nzin's side, eyeing Zhao Rushan with curiosity, filled with an unsettling feeling from the sword chi he sensed on Zhao Rushan. Zhao Rushan, looking at an Xan, similarly felt shocked. An Xan gave him an unfathomably profound feeling, particularly when meeting Nzin's gaze, which made him tremble with fear, a feeling he had never experienced even when facing beings above the Zizai immortal realm. Not to be provoked. This was Zhao Rushan's immediate feeling. May I ask for the senior's name? Zhao Rushan raised his hand in salute, asking courteously. An Xan answered calmly, Wuxia, an Xan, please leave. Zhao Rushan raised an eyebrow. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly felt a chill climbing up his spine, startling him. After hesitating for a moment, he chose to salute and leave. Although unclear why an Xan held hostility towards him, he also feared dying here. Zhao Rushan's presence quickly faded, while an Xan and Qin Xuan approached the river, facing Emperor Tianhong across the stream. Emperor Tianhong looked at an Xan, still not speaking, his gaze remaining calm. An Xan spoke, he wants to kill you. Is that so? Emperor Tianhong asked in surprise, thinking that Zhao Rushan seemed more like trying to provoke him into returning through reverse psychology. An Xan continued, and he can do it. Upon hearing this, Emperor Tianhong's brows immediately furrowed. He could feel that Zhao Rushan had reached the divine immortal of wondrous Dharma and had caught up with him in cultivation realm, but this was also because he had been kneeling for 20,000 years. Even at the same realm, he didn't believe he would lose to anyone other than an Xan. Qin Xuan was also surprised, not expecting Zhao Rushan to be so formidable. An Xan looked at Qin Xuan and said, You go ahead first. Qin Xuan nodded, then disappeared into thin air from where he stood. Emperor Tianhong wasn't very curious about Qin Xuan. He sensed that an Xan had something to say to him, which made ripples arose in his heart. An Xan stared at Emperor Tianhong and said, That person will be your nemesis. Both of you will become Taoist emperors and will stir a world-shaking conflict in the human world. Didn't you just say he could kill me? If I weren't here, wouldn't I already be dead by his hands? How could I become his nemesis? Emperor Tianhong curiously asked. You will die, but you will rise again in reincarnation and contend with him lifetime after lifetime. An Xan spoke in a very calm tone, as if mentioning a trivial matter, leaving Emperor Tianhong silent. He couldn't help but ask, Can you see my fate? Not me. And Nzin's answer caused Emperor Tianhong's expression to change for the first time, stirring his long calm heart. Sword Venerable, an Xan continued, Keep kneeling for now. Master can't accept you temporarily and I don't know the reason, but perhaps this is part of cultivation. Over the years, you should have felt your Tao practice growing. Emperor Tianhong showed a smile. Indeed, although my cultivation level hasn't increased, my understanding of the great Tao is growing rapidly. This must be the blessing of the Sword Venerable. This was also the reason he had been kneeling for more than 20,000 years without feeling tired. He had seen hope, and even if he had to kneel for another 100,000 years, he wouldn't feel it was hard. An Xan stopped talking, flashed beside Emperor Tianhong, and continued walking forward. Emperor Tianhong turned his head towards her and asked, Sister, where are you going? I have my matters to attend to. An Xan casually replied, a slight smile curving upon her lips, feeling that Emperor Tianhong was very perceptive. Emperor Tianhong pressed further, will Zhao Russian bring good or bad results to the Dao court? Destiny is always changing. Knowing the future in advance would only become an obstacle for you. Before the words were even fully said, an Xan had already disappeared into the depths of the forest. Emperor Tianhong turned back, looking at the river surface, deep in thought. Taoist Emperor, huh? He had heard from Yuan Songzi before that the prodigies of the 3,000 great worlds were all chasing after becoming Taoist emperors, but the celestial spirit great world temporarily had no opportunity to achieve that status. Yuan Songzi had told him to prepare well. According to what an Xian revealed about the future, becoming a Taoist emperor seems to be the crux of future world conflicts. This implies Yuan Songzi will succeed. To become a Taoist emperor, it's necessary to open the pathway to the path of the great Tao for the celestial spirit great world. Emperor Tianhong took a deep breath, clearing his distractions. Just how formidable a Taoist emperor is, he wasn't sure, but the path of power he was currently comprehending was truly strong. Even though his cultivation level had not increased, he could feel his mana undergoing transformation, becoming several times stronger compared to before he knelt. Would such a him also be killed by Zhao Russian? Emperor Tianhong noted Zhao Russian's name, looking forward to their future confrontation. Sir, the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 644. Bizarre invasion for Zhao Russian. Seeking an audience with Emperor Tianhong is a trivial matter. Ever since Zhao Russian's descent into the world, Emperor Tianhong's destiny has changed. Although Emperor Tianhong will ultimately defeat Zhao Russian, he will face numerous hardships and will need many lifetimes to accomplish this victory. Sitting by the lake, playing his zither, Guan's thoughts drifted with the cause and effect tied to Zhao Russian. Zhao Russian is not the reincarnation of an immortal god, but his destiny pattern is extremely strong. He is destined to reach the pinnacle of the celestial spirit great world and even bring catastrophe upon heaven and earth. By defeating him, Emperor Tianhong will also ascend to immortality. It is unclear whether Zhao Russian is a product of heaven and earth or a scheme by the immortal gods. If it's the latter, it should have nothing to do with Tai Immortal Monarch. Guan is unable to see through the celestial Tao destiny linked to Tai Immortal Monarch, but he can sense its existence. Perhaps there are other immortal gods eyeing the celestial spirit great world, fortunate that they do not plan to descend in person. While playing the zither, Guan focused his attention on Shaolan. The Tao court, with its disciples, has been on the path of the great Tao for 10,000 years. This journey, fraught with countless hardships, has reduced their number to less than a third of the original. If not for Guan's repeated interventions, they would have perished within the first 100 years of setting foot on the path of the great Tao. The path of the great Tao has no absolute order, only chaos and slaughter. There no one speaks of righteousness, for every being on this path is here for the sake of an era. Under the guidance of Yuan Songzi, Shaolan has embarked on the path to chase after the title of Taoist Emperor. To become a Taoist Emperor, one must not only comprehend the Tao rules but also defeat peers and higher-level adversaries on the path of the great Tao, constantly seizing destiny to strengthen oneself. Each Taoist emperor has reached the summit through a series of life and death battles, and this is why Taoist emperors can sweep through all beings at every realm level. With her innate talents, combined with being enveloped in Guan's Tao intent over the years, Shaolan is very familiar with the Tao rules. The clueless Yuan Songzi even thinks that Shaolan possesses a Tao comprehension stronger than that of Emperor Tianhong and Zhao Russian. Therefore, he has made a last-minute decision to exhaust all efforts to help Shaolan become the first Taoist emperor of the Tao court. CTH Fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. As a Taoist emperor, Shaolan will inevitably be involved in the struggle between Zhao Russian and Emperor Tianhong. Yet, because she is on the path of the great Tao, her influence does not reach the celestial spirit great world for the time being, thus the fate of that world remains unchanged. The path of obsession, the great Tao of thoughts. Guan murmured to himself, feeling surprised. Initially he thought that Shaolan, who cultivated the innate reincarnation skill, would follow the path of reincarnation or the path of soul, or even the path of cause and effect, as he often used it to guide her cultivation. It seems no matter which path one followed before, once one aspires to compete for the title of Taoist emperor, the great Tao itself will guide the cultivator to the most suitable path for immortal cultivation. Guan began to truly look forward to Xiaolan's future. Previously, Xiaolan had a smooth journey thanks to his support, and her future was all within his sight. But now Xiaolan has boundless possibilities, even the potential to surpass his control. For those close to him, Guan naturally hopes they will get better and better. If they can live their own brilliance, that would be even more ideal. With these thoughts, Guan's mood became even more brisk, and the music he played turned more ethereal, like the high mountains and flowing rivers before him, bringing peace to one's heart. Guan learned to play the zither from Shenzhen, not that he had high hopes. In the long years he always tried different things when bored. The sound of the zither was melodious, echoing through the mountains as the breeze blew, day turned to night, and the constellations shifted. Another 5,000 years passed by. In these 5,000 years, aside from Qin Chuan and Xingtian and LV Xian, also left the dojo to make their own way in the world. Qin Chuan founded the sword sect and its momentum was fierce. And Xingtian went back to support the Yin family. Although his destiny with the Yin family had been severed, he chose a disciple from the family to instruct. LV Xian wandered the world, challenging the unparalleled geniuses of various sections. As long as his opponent was not beyond his great realm, he would not use Tao treasures, relying on his true abilities to continuously defeat formidable talents. His fame grew rapidly and 5,000 years later he was already among the top talents in the world. However, in the world today the one with the most fame was still Zhao Rushan, who had mastered the Tao Court's supreme divine skill for combat, with inscrutable techniques. In this new year, Emperor Tianhong was still kneeling in the forest at the edge of Wuxia. Guan went early in the morning to pick mature medicinal herbs, and continued until evening, when he arrived at an island belonging to the Gathering Flower sect. Jiang Qiong had prepared wine and dishes in advance, waiting for his arrival. Jiang Qiong was now a carefree primordial immortal, and although not as formidable as a Wuxia disciple, she did not stay by Guan's side all year round. Her cultivation level was already the strongest in this sea area. Not only the strongest, but she was also seen as a legend in the hearts of many disciples of the Gathering Flower sect, with rumors of her true capabilities. Although Jiang Qiong was not the sect master, she still strategized and made important decisions for the Gathering Flower sect from behind the scenes. Recently LV Xian's fame has grown quite large, spreading across the 72 seas. Even our sect's disciples are discussing what kind of a sect Wuxia really is. In the pavilion halfway up the mountain, Jiang Qiong poured wine for Guan while saying with a laugh. Beside them was a waterfall, the falling water striking the cliff and raising a misty spray, paired with the lush green flora, creating beauty and a sense of atmosphere. Guan laughed and said, "Wuxia is not any sect and I don't usually manage them that much." Jiang Qiong continued to serve dishes to Guan and curiously asked, "You've been in this world for 130,000 years. What exactly are you pursuing, or to be more precise, who are you avoiding?" Like others, Jiang Qiong also felt that Guan had the capability to turn the world upside down before he even met her. She believed he was just putting on a show. What she did not know was that Guan was actually younger than she was. Guan did not specifically clarify this, as admitting the truth would hardly be believed by anyone, and may even plant the seeds of potential trouble. Pursuing? I am hoping for my current lifestyle to continue for a very long time, until I become tired of it. Guan said earnestly, then emptied the cup of wine in one gulp. Really? Jiang Qiong looked at Guan as if she was trying to see through him. Guan raised his hand, took out a scroll and handed it to Jiang Qiong, saying, "This is a formation I created. Study it well, and if you can master it, it could protect the Gathering Flower sect for 1,000,000 years without worries." That powerful? Jiang Qiong was pleasantly surprised. She was very interested in formations, as could be seen from the incident at 8 Scenic Cave Heaven. She directly used her divine sense to probe the scroll. Meanwhile, Guan started to talk about the interesting things he had heard recently. Initially she was just humoring him, but later on she was completely engrossed in the content of the scroll. Guan simply shook his head with a wry smile, not too concerned. He looked up at the celestial vault, his gaze turning profound. Recently, a strange power was approaching the celestial spirit great world, which might bring disaster. Following this strange power in his deductions, he discovered that many great thousand worlds had already been contaminated by it, and these worlds had plunged into chaos as a result. Those tinged with this power would become violent and bloodthirsty. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 645, Guan's Reincarnation. Such a bizarre force sweeping across the vast Great Thousand World, the Celestial Court should notice it, right? Guan thought silently, although he didn't know exactly where the Celestial Court was. As he came into contact with more immortal gods, he always felt that immortal gods were omnipresent, and the power of the Celestial Court was even more domineering, disregarding the wishes of all beings. As for the mysterious, strange force, Guan didn't pay much attention to it. Even if it spread to the celestial spirit great world, it was just another phase of cultivation for all beings as long as it didn't endanger him. After a long while, when the food had all gone cold, Jiang Qiong's attention finally shifted away from the array scroll. She looked at Guan and exclaimed, "Is this really an array that humans can create? It's too vast and intricate, and from the described effects, it seems as terrifying as the rules of heaven and earth." She felt if this array were to be leaked, it would certainly cause a bloodbath, and if someone else had given it to her, she would not dare accept it. "It would take many years to master. You should study it on your own first," Guan said softly with a chuckle. What he provided was not just the array itself. The Taoist techniques contained within were enough for Jiang Qiong to comprehend for 1,000,000 years. Jiang Qiong nodded. She stored the scroll in her storage ring, looking at Guan with eyes full of amazement and deep affection. She sighed, "The things you've given me are becoming harder and harder to repay. To be honest, it's pretty stressful." "Then return it to me?" Guan asked with annoyance. Didn't he know Jiang Qiong well? This woman just wanted to tease him on the pretext. Jiang Qiong laughed playfully. "That won't do, it's already been given." Then she changed the subject and began to talk about the happenings within the Gathering Flower sect. As the person of the highest seniority within the sect, she naturally spoke from the perspective of an elder, leaving Guan feeling like they were chatting about family matters. Guan didn't find it boring. On the contrary, he was very interested, occasionally asking questions. Half an hour later. "By the way, do you still remember Lu Lingjun? She stayed in your third Medicine Valley once. She's an ascender. The Ascension sect she established is doing quite well, having already gained a foothold." When Jiang Qiong brought up Lu Lingjun, her tone became cheerful. At the same time, she was observing Guan's expression. She remembered, an Xian had mentioned a long time ago that Lu Lingjun wanted to take Guan as her Dao companion. Ever since Guan's true identity was revealed, Lu Lingjun seemed to have lost contact with Guan, not because he didn't want to see her, but because she didn't dare to see him. Over the years, Jiang Qiong had also dealt with Lu Lingjun, and she felt that there was an inherent pride in her. It seemed this woman couldn't accept that Guan was such a strong being. However, Jiang Qiong suspected that the fact that Lu Lingjun was still alive today, and the Ascension sect had developed so well, was due to Guan's covert assistance. After she finished talking about Lu Lingjun's situation, she still couldn't see any sign from Guan's face. Guan seemed completely indifferent to Lu Lingjun. Guan showed a smile and said, "Indeed, talking to you is quite interesting. These things I couldn't see within the beginningless." Seeing that he was uninterested in Lu Lingjun, Jiang Qiong couldn't help but ask, "Do you always cultivate? Don't you get bored?" She could never understand why Guan had left the Supreme Sect. If he disliked the Supreme Sect, he could switch to another sect or city to stay. Why hide in a deserted mountain? She could only think that it was for the sake of cultivation. "My life is far more interesting than you think," Guan said proudly. Jiang Qiong raised her eyebrows, skeptical. Guan laughed and said, "For me, the past 130,000 years have been much slower than the time you have experienced. Take the past 100 years for example. I served as a guard for an emperor in the human world for 60 years, aiding 4 emperors. He was telling the truth. In the recent 10,000 years, he liked to experience various identities in the mortal world. Except for when gathering medicinal herbs, he always used his original body to experience them, and in each identity he never used his mana. He too would get injured and grow old. Isn't this another form of reincarnation?" Jiang Qiong never expected Guan would do such a thing. She found it both absurd and somewhat interesting to think that a powerful being who could overturn the entire great world was scrambling for power and profit with mortals in the mortal world. Maybe she should try it too? After all, she no longer had to personally oversee the Gathering Flower sect. What followed was Guan speaking, with Jiang Qiong listening. The more stories she heard, the more she felt that what Guan was doing was not out of boredom, but a form of cultivation. The sun was shining brightly, the sky clear and cloudless. Above the mountains, numerous cultivators were flying on their swords as fast as the wind. Their gathering created a tremendous force that shook the mountains and forests violently. In the midst of the crowd, two young men flew side by side on their swords. One of them, a youth in black, turned to his companion and excitedly asked, "Long Lin, what kind of demon do you think we'll encounter this time?" The youth known as Long Lin was dressed in a tight blue garment, looking even more handsome and extraordinary in demeanor than the youth in black. Long Lin looked ahead, a smile on his face as he said, "I heard it's a great demon that has lived for 10,000 years. Otherwise the sect wouldn't send out so many disciples." "A great demon that has lived for 10,000 years? How terrifying could that be?" The youth in black suddenly grew worried. Long Lin glanced at him and chuckled, "Yang Yen, if you're scared, it's not too late to go back now." Upon hearing this, the youth named Yang Yen's eyes widened immediately and he said, "How could I possibly be scared? I'm just worried about the other disciples. If our Changyang sect loses this battle, the consequences are unimaginable." Long Lin gazed forward, smiling without saying a word. It wasn't just them. The other disciples of Changyang sect around them were also discussing the upcoming battle. The Changyang sect had been established for thousands of years and was considered a hegemon on the continent, but they had never contended with a 10,000-year-old demon before. "By the way, Long Lin, I heard from an elder brother that your clan has found you? Is that true?" Yang Yen asked curiously. He and Long Lin had both been orphans since they were young, raised by an old man in the mountains. By a stroke of fortune, they joined the Changyang sect, and Long Lin was found to have an excellent spirit root. Yang Yen owed his present status to Long Lin's support. He never expected that Long Lin wasn't an orphan and that his clan was looking for him. He felt envious but also happy for Long Lin. "Yeah, they told me that my parents didn't abandon me but rather they perished while on a mission and had to leave me somewhere. The jade pendant my parents left me is actually a high-tier spiritual artifact, and that's also how my clan found me. They want me to return and I am still considering it," Long Lin replied calmly. Yang Yen continued to probe, "Is your family powerful? How does it compare with Changyang sect?" "They should be powerful. They have already persuaded the higher-ups of the sect, and it seems the higher-ups have gained significant benefits and are strongly urging me to return," Long Lin said. Yang Yen felt even more envious at the response. Why didn't he have such a background? Before their cultivation it was he who protected Long Lin, but ever since they began to cultivate the roles reversed, and now it was Long Lin taking care of him. Yang Yen was grateful to Long Lin but also couldn't help feeling a surging envy in his heart. He felt that the heavens favored Long Lin, always letting him encounter good luck, whereas he was left without support. Even with Long Lin's help, trouble always seemed to find him. Sar the Oval Fire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If that's the case, what's there to consider? Yang Yen tried to restrain his jealousy and forced a smile as he asked. "Let's better think about how we're going to fight next," Long Lin said, dodging the question. He hesitated because the Long family does not accept outsiders. Over the years he could sense the changes in Yang Yen's attitude and didn't want to provoke him with this matter. But still, just thinking about the words of that family member, a look of longing couldn't help but appear in Long Lin's eyes. It is said that there are immortals in the Long family, beings who exist beyond the Mahayana realm, transcendental in existence. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 646. Old acquaintances meet, the mountains overlapped, and the land seemed like dragon ridges pressed together. On one such ridge, Guan stood in front of a cliff, while an XN was meditating and cultivating nearby. Has it already begun? Guan looked into the distance thinking this way. It had been 7,000 years since he had given the array scroll to Jianghu. 7,000 years had passed, and that mysterious and eerie force had finally seeped into the Great Thousand World. Its method of infiltration was not through a world gate but directly into the Tao rules of the Great Thousand World. This was an unstoppable invasion method, as its infiltration trajectory couldn't be fully tracked, at least not by the celestial spirit god. On the continent where Guan was, he saw a bloodline member of the Long family. This youth was named Long Lin, whose best friend was invaded by the eerie force, and he would become increasingly jealous and violent in the future, causing many troubles in Long Lin's life. Guan, however, had no intention of intervening. Long Lin was too distant in relation, equivalent to a stranger. If he were to protect every descendant of the Long family, it would be too exhausting, as the bloodline had already surpassed 1 billion in number, though most had changed names. Although the youth named Yang Yen might take a wrong path, he wouldn't pose a threat to Long Lin's life. Even without the invasion of the eerie force, it was not uncommon in the human world for brothers and best friends to destroy each other out of jealousy. Master, another calamity befalls the human world? And Zin's voice rang out, and Guan turned his head, seeing her opening her eyes with tightly furrowed brows. Guan inquired, "What did you see?" "Ia the Novel Fire." Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. My immortal emperor's eye senses a disturbingly evil force, and my future self also informed me that the human world would face unprecedented tribulations soon, and this disaster will also cover other great thousand worlds. An Xian spoke worriedly. Although her future self was manifested through karmic evolution and might not prove true, it still hinted at major trends in the future. Guan nodded slightly, quite satisfied with Nzin's cultivation results. Nzin's immortal emperor's eye not only could devour power to transform it into her own but also borrow strength from her past and future selves. This was somewhat similar to the celestial dragon reincarnation dharma aspect. However, the future self she summoned was formed from karma. Once the future self appeared, its associated future would vanish, making the karmic ties here complex. But through summoning her future self, she could gain predictions on the future trends of the cosmos. In addition, the immortal emperor's eye inherently possessed a powerful suppressive force. At the scene when she sparred with Tianhao, she pulled Tianhao into an illusion realm, forcefully crushing his Dao heart. In the immortal emperor's eye's illusion realm, Tianhao's senses were misled, perceiving everything encountered inside as real occurrences. The immortal emperor's eye contained immense power, which would aid an Xian to grow stronger. Even if an Xian did not become a Taoist emperor with the immortal emperor's eye, she could still contend with a Taoist emperor. Indeed, the forthcoming calamities will indeed arrive at the various great thousand worlds. However, the scope of this disaster is boundless and will surely attract stronger beings for suppression, so you needn't worry too much, Guan responded. Thinking about the Taoist emperor, his thoughts couldn't help but drift to the path of the great Tao. More of his old friends began to pursue the Taoist emperor. Ji Xiaoyu, Jianghu, Tianhao, Zhu Shi. The path of the great Tao was far broader than the great thousand world, with countless cultivators striving within. Meeting these few would not be easy. However, Ji Xiaoyu did meet Xiaolan, all thanks to Yuan Songzi's efforts. Yuan Songzi aimed to unite the strengths of the celestial spirit great world, lending mutual assistance. Guan watched over Ji Xiaoyu and Xiaolan while guiding an Xian in comprehending the Tao better. Whether Nzin's attention was diverted or not was unclear, but she soon became absorbed in enlightenment, forgetting the outside world. In the dim cosmic void, an desolate meteor quietly hovered, with a monastery perched upon its surface. In a hall, cultivators of the Tao court were meditating before a gigantic Buddha statue. Xiaolan gazed at the statue, lost in thought. This Buddha is from Ling Mountain. The owner of this monastery was once a devotee of Ling Mountain. In the heart of a Buddhist cultivator, Ling Mountain is the supreme holy land. A voice came interrupting Xiaolan's thoughts. Xiaolan turned her head, quickly getting up to salute. The meticulously dressed and regal Ji Xiaoyu approached her. Now, Ji Xiaoyu mostly walked in the identity of the reincarnation Tao Emperor. Her cultivation level might not match Yuan Songzi, but Yuan Songzi treated her with respect, addressing her as fellow Taoist, which garnered significant respect from the Tao court's talents for her. Senior, is Ling Mountain truly formidable? Where is it? Xiaolan asked curiously. Ever since meeting the reincarnation Tao Emperor, the reincarnation Tao Emperor had always clarified her doubts, treating her with much kindness, fostering strong goodwill in her towards the reincarnation Tao Emperor. Ji Xiaoyu turned her gaze back to the great Buddha statue, saying, Ling Mountain is elusive, I've only heard about it, but what can be confirmed is Ling Mountain stands above the great thousand world, and the capabilities of Ling Mountain's various Buddhas are beyond our imagination. Indeed, Ling Mountain is formidable. In the great thousand world where I originated, there once appeared a disciple from Ling Mountain's Buddhist sect, who single-handedly saved countless beings and suppressed the outer heaven evil demon. Even after his departure, many legends about him persisted in the human world. Yuan Songzi walked over, stroking his beard with a smile, his gaze towards the great Buddha statue filled with nostalgia. Xiaolan was filled with yearning. This monastery, though ownerless, could provide them shelter, and it was built by a mere believer of Ling Mountain. How mighty must the Buddhas of Ling Mountain be? 4 years on the path of the great Tao, Xiaolan's horizons had vastly widened. Yet, wonders she heard continued to leave her in awe. Yuan Songzi turned to Ji Xiaoyu, asking, "Have you chosen the next opponent?" The forces on the path of the great Tao were more numerous than the stars of the great thousand world. Many forces, like the Tao court, came to create a Taoist emperor, so they would establish contacts, setting a time and place for combat resourced by each one's capabilities without forming enmity among the forces. Both Ji Xiaoyu and Xiaolan were competing to become a Taoist emperor, but Ji Xiaoyu had a higher cultivation level, so she led the way with the Tao court currently supporting her, enabling Xiaolan to gain experience more easily. "Yes, a prodigy from Qinsha Great World whose cultivation level is very similar to mine," Ji Xiaoyu answered, her tone calm. Yuan Songzi was about to continue questioning when suddenly the entire hall began to tremble. An overwhelming pressure emanated from outside the monastery, startling the meditating cultivators from the Tao court, causing them to stand up, ready themselves tensely. Yuan Songzi frowned, projecting his divine sense towards the Tao void. He saw 2 figures battling deep in the void, colliding like 2 brilliant suns, causing the Tao rules to tremble, and the immense pressure made the meteor they sat upon tremble incessantly. "Is that?" It seemed Yuan Songzi recognized one of them, his expression turning exceptionally grim. The Tao court cultivators became even more tense. When Yuan Songzi initially confronted immortal gods, he never showed such an expression. Could there be a presence outside more terrifying than the immortal gods? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. After 10,000 years, the human world completely shed its cloak of peace, with conflicts arising everywhere. Even the Jianghu sect went to war with surrounding forces. The boundless celestial vault began to show lingering clouds. Guan still did not intervene to change anything. Another 10,000 years passed. That late summer, just past noon, Guan walked through the woods, pulling up his attribute panel for a check. Name, Guan, lifespan, 161, 845/5, 048, 752, 108, 241, physique, primordial reincarnation undying body, cultivation level, Miaozhen Daluo immortal realm perfection, 5 trillion years of life expectancy. He hesitated whether to break through. The last breakthrough cost 1.8 trillion years of life. He feared 5 trillion wouldn't suffice for the perfection realm of the next great realm. Guan pondered, pacing leisurely through the woods, with the breeze gently stirring his robes. Looking up, the celestial vault between the leaves appeared dim, more like dusk than noon. After a while, Guan stopped walking. He stood by a small river with a figure kneeling across it. It was Emperor Tianhong. Emperor Tianhong had been kneeling here for over 50,000 years, yet he seemed without the slightest sign of decline, his long beard touching the ground, face clear. Were it not for his knees sunk deep in the soil, one might not believe he had knelt so long. Though he engaged in no chi absorption cultivation, his cultivation level broke through to the Tao void profound immortal realm, purely through enlightenment. Notably, his breakthrough involved no crossing the tribulation nor the slightest disturbance. "After all these years of kneeling, what is your greatest realization?" Gu An's voice reached Emperor Tianhong's ear, making him open his eyes suddenly. Upon seeing Guan, he was lost in a daze. Though he had never met Guan before, for some reason seeing Guan for the first time, he felt the other was the supporting Tao sword venerable. To him, Gu An's appearance seemed perfect, and though Gu An's aura was not overpowering, it gave a sense of all-embracing magnanimity. Emperor Tianhong once believed his Tao heart was tempered through countless trials, immune to strong emotions, yet he couldn't suppress the surge of excitement from his heart at this moment. Trembling all over, he couldn't articulate his complex emotions. Seeing Emperor Tianhong so overwhelmed, Guan smiled gently, his smile like a spring breeze blowing into Emperor Tianhong's heart, dissolving his tension and excitement. Emperor Tianhong took a deep breath, trying to calm himself, and cautiously said, "My greatest realization is that the strongest Taoist technique is not found in sects but pervades the world, everywhere in nature. Perhaps Wuxia's name is meant to guide all beings?" Upon finishing, Emperor Tianhong's heart was in his throat, a frayed head offended the supporting Dao sword venerable. The longer head knelt, the more he revered Guan, sensing it was Guan guiding him to enlightenment. Guan chuckled, perhaps so, everyone has their own understanding. Do you wish to take me as your master? Emperor Tianhong's eyes widened with excitement. Sword venerable, I do. I very much want to. Will you accept me? Guan raised his right hand, and a sword flew from his palm, swiftly enlarging, its point facing upward, hovering before him. The sword was exquisite, radiating a faint silver glow, with what seemed like stars adorning it. This is the Dao treasure of Wuxia, named the Longevity Sword. You may use it to save this human world. When you become a savior, return the sword, and then decide whether you wish to be my disciple. As Guan introduced the sword, the Longevity Sword flew to Emperor Tianhong. Emperor Tianhong could feel the vast Dao intent within the sword, yet he wasn't captivated, instead directing his attention to Guan, urgently saying, I can decide now, willing to be your disciple. Guan replied meaningfully, when you have the highest fame and power and discern your own destiny pattern, then make your decision. There's no rush, if you are willing by then I will accept you. Hearing this, Emperor Tianhong calmed down. Now go. Guan continued, upon which Emperor Tianhong stood up, clutching the Longevity Sword. In an instant, a vast memory surged into his mind, leaving him stunned. Sar the Novel Fire. Net ** website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Seeing this, Guan crossed the small river, passing by him. Go for the breakthrough after all. With his back to Emperor Tianhong, Guan thought silently. He followed his thoughts with anticipation. What lies beyond the Miaozhen Daluo Immortal realm? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. After setting up the lifespan barrier, he had time to observe the environment. As far as the eye could see, the celestial vault was dim as the void of the universe, with towering mountains standing on the earth, rising and falling, their ends unseen, and the number of peaks uncountable. Even at his Miaozhen Daluo Immortal Realm perfection state, Guan could not see the boundaries of this world. Is this another place in an infinitely expanding universe and earth? He observed that every mountain around him contained an immense Dao intent, as if nurturing a great Dao. The oppressive atmosphere of the world made the endless Dao mountain appear like majestic deities in the darkness, exuding a sense of vastness and magnitude. The mountain under Guan's feet was extraordinarily huge. Even standing on the summit felt like standing on a vast continent. Its height exceeded the distance from the 9 spirit continents ground to outer heaven. The mountain he stood upon wasn't even the highest Dao mountain. In the distance stood towering mountains like heavenly barriers, imposing to the extreme. Endless Dao Mountain, I wonder how far it is from the Great Thousand World, thought Guan curiously, as he had never heard of the Endless Dao Mountain before. The more mysterious and powerful places there were, the happier Guan felt. If the end of the Great Dao were so easy to reach, the joy of cultivation would diminish significantly. Guan sat down cross-legged and then called up the attribute panel. First, he worked to enhance his physique, as it had been a while since he made any improvements. Guan invested 100 billion years of lifespan directly, but the primordial reincarnation undying body did not transform. He continued investing. Ultimately, after spending a total of 400 billion years of lifespan, the primordial reincarnation undying body ascended to the primordial Dao creation body. Vast amounts of Dao spiritual qi gathered, causing the ground beneath Guan's feet to light up with Dao light, confined within the barrier, while the mountain's surface outside the barrier exhibited no changes for the time being. Soon, Guan became engrossed in the inheritance. The primordial Dao creation body retained the features of the previous physique, undying through reincarnation, ferocious mana, and the capability to create new Great Dao. Indeed, Great Dao independent of the 3000 Great Dao. It's based on personal mana and physical strength. Just like before, no matter how mighty the transformation, Guan completed the transformation in less than an hour. He opened his eyes, a glint of light flashing within them. Created Dao? He suddenly thought, with countless Great Dao, even he couldn't ascertain the exact number. Could some Great Dao have been created by cultivators? This hypothesis could not be answered for the time being, so he turned his gaze to the cultivation techniques in the attribute panel. Next was the enhancement of the main cultivation technique. Guan invested 100 billion years of lifespan into the Taoist Dominator skill. Finally, after expending nearly 350 billion years of lifespan, he upgraded the Taoist Dominator skill to the Myriad Tao Extinction skill. The Myriad Tao Extinction skill shifted from the previous vastness to one filled with slaughter traits, with domination leading to extinction, leaving not a trace, ultimately leaving only oneself, surpassing the Great Tao. An hour later, Guan continued upgrading. Sun and Moon Selfless Divine Tao ascended to Tao Qi Eternal Divine Sense, consuming nearly 300 billion years of lifespan. This was Guan's main reliance for hiding cultivation level and aura. He wouldn't neglect it. The upgrades continued. Taoless Celestial Net Step ascended to Great Primordial Celestial Net Step, consuming nearly 400 billion years of lifespan. Hongmeng Void Golden Body ascended to Great Tao Formless Body, consuming 300 billion years of lifespan. This secret skill evolved from the Demon Shadow Divine skill, capable of transformation and isolating causality and fate deductions, greatly aiding Guan in remaining concealed. Another hour passed. Guan mastered the Great Tao Formless Body. Even without activating this secret skill, his physical body possessed the capability to avoid being deduced, and this body could also elevate his aura and suppression, serving as a suppressive divine skill. Having completed the conventional enhancements, he had to consider battle methods next. According to past conventions, Guan should improve his Sword Tao, but now he wanted to enhance the Immortal Emperor's Eye. The Immortal Emperor's Eye was too powerful for him to give up, but it would provoke the Celestial Court's suspicion. He must upgrade the Immortal Emperor's Eye to a stronger stage to avoid their detection. While Guan contemplated, changes emerged in the tumultuous Endless Tao Mountain. Due to Guan's continuous upgrades of Taoist techniques, the Tao rules in the heavens and earth began having strange alterations, causing gales to roar, lightning to flash, thunder to rumble, and some Tao mountains to faintly tremble. Before there had been no sign of any living being. But now they appeared. Guan looked in a direction, spotting a massive black silhouette on the summit of a majestic Tao mountain far away. The figure was humanoid, standing atop the peak, mysterious to the extreme, akin to an ancient demon god. He couldn't use lifespan detection on it, indicating the other party had not revealed their true self. Even so, the other party's aura sent chills through his heart. Miaozhen Daluo Immortal. And not at the early stage. Guan merely glanced over and paid no mind. With the lifespan barrier in place, it would be difficult for the other party to discover him. He began to invest lifespan into the Immortal Emperor's Eye. Right from the start, it was 100 billion years of lifespan. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 649, Breakthrough to Tao Extreme Daluo Immortal. You invested 10 billion years of lifespan into cultivating the Immortal Emperor's Eye. You have spent 1 billion years cultivating the Immortal Emperor's Eye, and your understanding of the Great Tao of cause and effect has improved. You have spent 10 billion years cultivating the Immortal Emperor's Eye, and your understanding of the Great Tao of illusion and reality has improved. You have spent 50 billion years cultivating the Immortal Emperor's Eye, and the power of your Immortal Emperor's Eye has grown stronger. Notifications flashed before Guan's eyes, but a full 10 billion years of lifespan was not enough to transform the Immortal Emperor's Eye. Guan was not surprised. After all, this was a formidable divine skill feared by the Celestial Court. He continued to invest lifespan, still in increments of 10 billion years. Failure. Another 10 billion years. Guan had over 400 billion years of lifespan remaining, so 10 billion years was nothing to him. Continuous failures, continuous investment. When the invested lifespan exceeded 1,000 billion years, a subtle change appeared in Guan's eyes. It wasn't until the Immortal Emperor's Eye advanced that he finally breathed a sigh of relief. A total of 1,800 billion years of lifespan was consumed, and the Immortal Emperor's Eye advanced to become the Absolute Void Eye. An endless stream of memories poured into Guan's mind, causing him to close his eyes and immerse himself in them, as if the vast information of the 3,000 Great Tao rushed into his mind, plunging even someone with a perfection in the Miaozhen Daluo Immortal realm into chaos. The Absolute Void Eye not only can manipulate reality and illusion but can also create them, an almost omnipotent eye whose creations vanish when the user's mana is exhausted. In battle, it can turn an opponent's divine skills, spells, and even mana into nothingness. This is not only suppression against the weak, but even against those with higher cultivation levels, it exerts a certain degree of suppression. The great Tao phenomena caused by the absolute void eye far exceed those from before, with the endless Tao mountain still ravaged by fierce winds, and silhouettes appearing consecutively on the distant Tao mountain. Even a figure shrouded in gray mist appeared atop a nearby Tao mountain, not revealing their true form. This gray mist figure looked up at the dark celestial vault, seemingly searching for the source of the phenomenon, unaware that the source was right beside him on the neighboring Tao mountain. The two Tao mountains were connected, but the distance between their peaks spanned tens of millions of miles. A distance insurmountable in a lifetime for mortals, but merely a step away for the gray mist figure. Time passed quickly. An hour later. Or is the infinite celestial void great tribulation more terrifying than he imagined? As Guan pondered, he continued to invest lifespan. Yet, after throwing in a second 10,000 billion years of lifespan, there was still no sign of success. He frowned slightly and persisted in investing more. After a while, he finally succeeded in breaking through. See the novel underscore at website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. You cultivate the chi absorption for 58 billion years, and use the great achievement of the myriad Tao extinction skill to forcefully impact the Tao extreme Daluo immortal realm, beginning to cross the tribulation, surviving the infinite celestial void great tribulation, and succeeding in crossing the tribulation. Your cultivation level breaks through to the early stage of the Tao extreme Daluo immortal realm. You cultivate the chi absorption for 10 billion years and your cultivation level increases. As the notification fell, the lifespan barrier activated again, far more majestic than before. The Tao spiritual chi engulfed Guan, immersing him in the strong light of the great Tao. Just reaching the early stage cost Guan 23,000 billion years of lifespan. He dared not continue to break through. After all, he still needed to save lifespan for the lifespan barrier. First achieve the Tao extreme Daluo immortal. Boom. The dark celestial vault suddenly exploded with a thunderous sound, akin to a great dragon coiling in the heavens, larger than any mountain ridge between heaven and earth, alarming the cultivators practicing within the Tao mountains. In Guan's perception, the auras of more and more cultivators emerged, as if the night sky was illuminated and the stars appeared. He was astounded. Just how many powerful beings are hidden here? Even the weakest aura belonged to a heaven-balancing golden immortal, with most being Taiching golden immortals, and several auras caused his heart to palpitate. They must be Tao extreme Daluo immortals. Could this endless Tao mountain be some holy land for enlightenment? Guan pondered, seeing that no one was paying attention to the Tao mountain he resided on, sinking his consciousness into the inherited memories. Tao extreme Daluo immortal, the pinnacle of the Daluo Tao fruit, is the ultimate limit beings can reach. To become stronger, one cannot rely anymore on cultivation and enlightenment but must create and develop one's great Tao. In a sense, Tao extreme Daluo immortal is the culmination of the immortal Tao. Beyond that, it's not the immortal Tao but the great Tao. Guan's Daluo Tao fruit began imprinting Tao extreme patterns, with each pattern containing indelible mysteries. As long as the Tao extreme patterns exist, the Tao extreme Daluo immortal will not fall, and the Tao extreme patterns are not merely on the Tao fruit but interwoven within the infinite realm of the great Tao. Chapter 650. Causeless Realm. As Guan completed the formation of 49 Tao extreme patterns, his consciousness awoke from the state of enlightenment, and he could feel an earth-shattering transformation within himself. He had transformed into a Tao extreme Daluo immortal. Within, the barrier was filled with the intense light of the great Tao, and outside, the dark celestial vault gleamed with purple-red iridescence, both bewitching and terrifying. Guan could sense that the number of cultivators alarmed by this exceeded 100,000, and it was still rising. Nearby, there were also a few Tao mountains where the presence of cultivators emerged, but compared to the endless Tao mountain, these figures were far less numerous than the number of Tao mountains. After attaining the Tao extreme Daluo immortal, Guan's divine sense also underwent a qualitative change. He could feel the end of the endless Tao mountain. At this moment, new Tao mountains were still forming on the fringes, continuously expanding this world. The distant end he could see was beyond the reach of even Miaojin Daluo immortal, and with the ongoing birth of Tao mountains, the name Endless Tao Mountain was truly deserving. Before his breakthrough, the speculation was correct. There indeed existed several Dao Extreme Daluo Immortals in the endless Dao Mountain. Their Dao Mountain stood as the tallest among them, while the Dao Mountain beneath Guan's feet was like a small hill before Mt Tai in comparison, and the Dao intent contained in those massive Dao Mountains was majestic. Even the most mediocre mortal spirit could ascend to immortality while residing on such Dao Mountains. Furthermore, Guan also felt various heavenly court destinies here, similar to the destinies of the celestial spirit god and the 72 immortals of the Golden Cave, even possessing the destiny of a Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal. Guan had a sense of engaging with a high-level map, becoming even more interested in the endless Dao Mountain. The breakthrough was not yet over. His cultivation level continued to rise, and the anomaly brought to the endless Dao Mountain began to wane. The elusive Dao rules writhed like a startled swarm of dragons, and the terrifying might of the Dao caused the supposedly unshakable Dao Mountains to tremble. Guan summoned his attribute panel to examine. During the breakthrough process, the lifespan barrier consumed 3 trillion years of lifespan, which was not a small number. Guan continued to invest his lifespan into his cultivation level. Any breakthrough was worth it. Soon he once again seized the opportunity for a breakthrough. Consuming 800 million years of lifespan, he advanced to the mid-stage of the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal realm. The anomaly of the endless Dao Mountain had not yet completely dissipated, but the heavenly thunders in the sky gradually thinned, and the sound also diminished. At dusk, Taoist field of the beginningless. Guan leisurely continued along the mountain path. After half a day's search, his divine sense had locked onto the endless Dao Mountain. When returning to the endless Dao Mountain in the future, there is no need to use lifespan for breakthroughs again. Actually, while coming back he could rely on himself to return. However, considering the presence of Dao Extreme Daluo Immortals and Heavenly Court Immortals at the endless Dao Mountain, he decided to proceed with caution. Using 10 billion years of lifespan to ensure safety. No matter how high the realm is, caution is needed, especially when facing beings of the same realm. Guan was in a pleasant mood. After reaching the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal, he could see further, and the future heaven's calamities were all within his sight, posing no threat to him. He arrived at the courtyard, and his gaze turned towards Shenzhen in front of the artifact refining cauldron. He peered into the causal connection to Fairy Yao Xian within Shenzhen, seeing a line connecting to the outer heaven. He looked up, following that line across countless worlds and universes, and he saw an absolutely black void. Fairy Yao Xian's soul was hidden in that void. Moreover, there were other souls there, countless in number, all of whom were exiled by the path of cause and effect. There were existences of all realms, even Daluo Immortals, all immobilized and in slumber. Causeless realm. Guan's mind received the name of that void, and his brows furrowed. He could feel the threat of the causeless realm, which harbored extremely terrifying power. Despite being a place of exile by the path of cause and effect, it seemed there existed a will in this realm capable of free action, more frightening than the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortals of the endless Dao Mountain. It seems rescuing Fairy Yao Xian is not yet possible. Guan silently withdrew his gaze, not in a hurry. Judging by Fairy Yao Xian's current state, she wasn't suffering. Her consciousness had already fallen asleep, losing the concept of time. As long as he saved her before her soul dissipated, it wouldn't matter how much time passed in between, making no difference to her. Shenzhen seemed to sense Guan's gaze, turning her head to look. Sir the Oval Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Upon seeing Guan, her expression changed slightly, and she appeared a bit dazed. Although Guan's appearance, temperament and aura hadn't changed in the slightest, her intuition told her he had grown stronger again. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. He wandered aimlessly, noticing most cultivators occupied a Dao Mountain alone, as there were indeed too many. The cultivators seemed wary of each other too. This could be troublesome. Guan began to miss Baizia of Human World Peak. When he first ventured to Outer Heaven, he met the enthusiastic Baizia, who even introduced him to Human World Peak. Although Human World Peak hadn't greatly aided his cultivation, it did help him better understand the heavens and earth, which is why he had never severed ties with Human World Peak, cherishing these bonds. He continued roaming, waiting for an opportunity. During this time he also saw other figures entering endless Dao mountains, most having clear objectives flying swiftly. Guan spotted a figure that seemed as confused as him, moving slowly and constantly looking around. He hesitated for a moment, then cautiously flew over as if he was being careful. The other was also a heaven-opening Daluo immortal. Perhaps having some degree of confidence, they dared to wander like this. Guan previously saw a Taiching golden immortal enter and immediately hide within a Dao mountain. This heaven-opening Daluo immortal had a slightly slender figure, resembling a Taoist, holding a horsetail whisk resembling a sword. Seeing Guan approaching, he stopped and turned to look at him. "Fellow Taoist, may I ask if this is the Endless Dao Mountains?" Guan asked, changing his voice. This is indeed the Endless Dao Mountains. Is it your first time here?" The other replied, their tone slightly cold. "Yes, I've heard the Endless Dao Mountains contain endless true meanings of the Great Dao. My Dao practice has reached a bottleneck, so I wanted to give it a try. The Great Dao aura here is indeed dense, even beyond my imagination, but it's different from what I expected." At the end of his sentence, Guan pretended to hesitate. "Didn't expect there to be so many people here, right?" The other chimed in. "Exactly." Guan's tone contained a hint of amazement. The other remarked, "Those who come here to cultivate are truly great powers from various realms. It only goes to show how vast the Great Dao is, far beyond our imagination. I had some understanding of the Endless Dao Mountains before coming, but upon arrival, like you, I was astonished. My name is Hongya Zi from the Misty Immortal Court. What's your name, and which sect do you hail from?" Misty Immortal Court? Guan didn't expect the first Daluo immortal he would meet to be from the Misty Immortal Court. He followed with, "My name is Meng Lang. When I attained Golden Immortal, my sect was destroyed, so I've been wandering without a sect for now." Upon hearing, Hongya Zi said, "With your Dao practice, founding a sect wouldn't be difficult." Guan shook his head. "Forget it. Having a sect means having burdens. I prefer pursuing the Great Dao freely and unfettered." "That's certainly reasonable," Hongya Zi agreed, seemingly deep in thought before falling silent. Guan pondered on how to further the relationship. "Fellow Taoist Meng, since you're also new here, I assume you don't know where to head next. Why not join me to listen to a true immortal's lecture?" Hongya Zi invited. Guan was flattered and hesitantly asked, "I follow you? Is that suitable?" Hongya Zi reassured, "Don't worry, I don't have any connection with that true immortal. Their lectures aren't private. Anyone can attend and listen." "May I ask the name of the true immortal?" "He is revered as the white-haired ancestor, a highly respected immortal god of the celestial court. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 652. Preaching the incomparable Liya of today and the past. The dojo of the white-haired ancestor is situated on the Endless Dao Mountain. Led by Hongya Zi, the two soon reached the Dao Mountain where teachings were held. The height of this Dao Mountain ranked among the top 10, and there was an abundance of powerful presences on the mountain. They flew to a mid-mountain location where a sprawling open-air palace had been constructed. On the palace, there were thousands of mats, and already dozens of figures had gathered here. These figures were shrouded in the aura of rules, their true forms not revealed. Hongya Zi was familiar with some of them and introduced Guan to these individuals of great power. The atmosphere was quite congenial and the conversation was enjoyable. Among those who came to listen to the teachings were also Taiching Golden Immortals, who dared not intrude on the conversations of the Daluo Immortals and stayed at a distance. As Guan conversed with other Daluo Immortals, he was also reflecting in his heart. Indeed, no matter where you go, there will always be hierarchy. In any great thousand world, a Taiching Golden Immortal would be an unimaginable powerhouse, yet here they were all very constrained, lacking the demeanor of a supreme being. He only sighed briefly, not giving it much thought. Those he conversed with were heaven-opening Daluo Immortals, while afar there was a Miaojin Daluo Immortal whom no one dared disturb. Through other heaven-opening Daluo Immortals, Guan gained a deeper understanding of the white-haired ancestor, who held a status in the celestial court far above that of an immortal monarch. He also learned that this lecture might last several hundred or even thousands of years, with still several months before it began. Guan was not inclined to listen to the teachings here for thousands of years, as he also needed to gather medicinal herbs. So, before the arrival of the white-haired ancestor, he switched to a clone, and his true self secretly exited the endless Tao mountain, returning to the celestial spirit great world unnoticed by the great cultivators present. Even when in the celestial spirit great world he could connect his mind with the clone, equivalent to listening in person. Such a method probably didn't count as disrespect, and he thought that other listeners might not all be their true selves either. In the following times more listeners continued to arrive. With the help of Hongyazi, Guwen met numerous powerful figures from different factions. Hongyazi even introduced him to a star monarch of the celestial palace. Although this star monarch had only the cultivation level of a Taiching golden immortal, relying on the celestial palace meant no others dared disrespect him. Even in the endless Tao mountain, the celestial palace held absolute authority, and no one dared to offend it. Through Hongyazi, Guwen also understood that the celestial palace had little renown across the 3,000 great thousand worlds because the rulers of various places did not wish their subjects to know there was an even mightier existence overseeing them, and the celestial gods guarding the great thousand worlds also gave face by not appearing rashly. This broadened Guwen's horizons. Apparently there were relationships of interest between the celestial gods of other great thousand worlds and their rulers. No wonder people from other great thousand worlds frequently took the celestial order through the world gate. Months quickly passed by. By the day of the lecture, the number of listeners at this dojo had exceeded 800, with most discussing the phenomenon before the endless Tao mountain. Guwen was already seated, patiently waiting for the arrival of the white-haired ancestor. He sensed the aura of a Tao extreme Daoyuo immortal at the top of Tao mountain. Surely that must be the white-haired ancestor. Guwen silently compared and felt that the opponent's cultivation might be in the late or perfection realm of the Tao extreme Daoyuo immortal stage. Although he was already a Tao extreme Daoyuo immortal, his life had been so short like a child compared to a true Daoyuo immortal, so he was full of anticipation for this lecture. He wanted to see how vast the Tao intent of other Tao extreme Daoyuo immortals was, and how teachings from beyond heaven differed from his own. Dong, a bell sound reverberated through the entire Tao mountain, bringing quiet to the dojo as a white light fell from the sky onto the steps in front of the palace, mighty immortal energy dispersing, forming a strong wind over every listener. Guwen squinted and saw a figure descending from the white light. The white-haired ancestor. Tao extreme Daoyuo immortal. Within the dojo there were only 2 Miaojin Daoyuo immortals, and even if the aura of all the listeners combined, it couldn't match the white-haired ancestor. This made most listeners sit up straight involuntarily. As the white light faded, the figure of the white-haired ancestor was revealed. Though her entire form was surrounded by the gray aura of rules, from her silhouette, she was clearly a female immortal, holding a horsetail whisk in her hand, her robes wrapped tightly around her. This time I will be discussing the path of power for you all. The voice of the white-haired ancestor sounded, melodious indeed, a female voice infused with immense Tao intent, causing the Tao rules on the Tao mountain to pause. Thank you, ancestor. The listeners all bowed and said, and Guwen followed suit in salutation. The path of power? He indeed wished to see what distinctive insights this white-haired ancestor had on the path of power, given that he had also mastered it and held great interest in it. The lessons learned from blood will be left in history for future generations to remember, thereby avoiding more disasters. She was also comprehending the path of cause and effect, and her greatest insight was that as long as there is spiritual intelligence, conflict is inevitable, and with enough conflict, disaster is bound to occur. She believed that one must save oneself amidst disasters rather than seek assistance from strong entities outside the rules. Lately there have been undercurrents surging within the Qingkuan sect, and the atmosphere has become increasingly severe. However, the higher-ups didn't want to ask for Wuxi's help, as that would appear incompetent. But Liya hesitated, having initially thought the matter would not be difficult for Guwen, hence why he sought Guwen out, only to be refused unexpectedly. Guwen gently pushed his teacup towards Liya and said, "Does senior brother Li very much want to end this chaos?" Liya instinctively picked up the teapot and poured tea for Guwen, then asked, "What do you mean just because I want it, it can happen? Since you came looking for me, how could I not fulfill your wish?" Guwen said with great vigor. In front of others he would pretend to be a sage, but in front of Liya he wanted to show off a bit. Liya was greatly surprised, but recalling Li Zuanya's words he felt they made sense. Once this tribulation ends, what about the next? Would he have to seek out Guan every time? Liya furrowed his brow, hesitating. Would doing this deplete your cultivation level or bring you immense trouble? Guan lifted his teacup and emptied it again, then shook the cup at Liya and said, "This catastrophe may be unstoppable for the all-living beings under heaven, but for me, it's just like putting down this cup." As he finished speaking, he gently placed the teacup down. He looked at Liya and smiled. "See, isn't it done?" Liya was stunned. Li Zuanya's eyes also showed a look of confusion. Little did they know that the strange force enveloping the all-living beings under heaven dissipated in that instant, ceasing to exist. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 654. The Change of Cause and Effect. Isn't it already done? Upon hearing Guan's words, Liya was momentarily dazed. Such a boastful tone. So good at pretending. Liya secretly grumbled, then asked, "When will you take action? If peace could return to the world, that would naturally be a good thing." Guan looked at Liya, blinked, and said, "Haven't I already taken action?" Liya widened his eyes and said in a deep voice, "Junior brother Gu, don't jest with me." "Oh. Did your cup land on the table and disperse that bizarre power covering all living beings?" Guan smiled at him, not answering. Li Xuanyu was the first to believe Guan's words, her gaze at Guan full of indescribable meaning. CTH Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Faced with Guan's smile, Liya suddenly felt a jolt in his heart. Could it be that Guan was not boasting but actually did it? But why did he not feel any trace of it? Could it be that before he came, Guan had already resolved that strange power? Liya was filled with confusion, not knowing what to ask. "What are your plans for the future? Do you need to enter the Dao court?" Guan asked, not continuing to discuss the strange power. He believed that after parting this time, Liya would investigate this matter, and then, Liya would be even more amazed by his strength. Liya did not question Guan's ability to arrange for him to enter the Dao court, but he shook his head and said, "I don't want to be restricted, otherwise I would have stayed at the Supreme Sect all along. I plan to continue traveling, as there are countless opportunities in this world that have yet to bore me." Besides the opportunities nurtured by the Great Thousand World after its reshaping, Guan once spread treasures from the battle court across the world. To this day, 70% of them have yet to surface, including various inheritances. Even Liya, as a divine immortal of wondrous dharma, and indeed a profound yuan-free immortal, would encounter suitable divine skills and secret skills. After hearing this, Guan did not insist. He began reminiscing about the past, causing both Li Xuanyu and Liya to be filled with emotion. 160,000 years ago, even if they were beaten to death, they could never have imagined achieving the accomplishments and status they enjoyed today. Speaking of old friends, they began to talk more to each other, with Li Xuanyu occasionally interjecting. The atmosphere was very harmonious. 1 hour later, Guan invited Liya to visit the Jianghu sect, while Li Xuanyu found an excuse to leave, not disturbing them. After they were alone, Liya no longer held back and began to talk about his troubles over the years. He spoke about family, love, and enemies, saying whatever came to mind. Even when facing his wife and children, he would never show a vulnerable side, but facing Guan, he couldn't help but speak of these matters. Guan listened attentively, occasionally teasing Liya, causing Liya's emotions to fluctuate. After staying at the Jianghu sect for 2 days, Guan took Liya to Wuxia to see his dojo. Upon stepping into the dojo, Liya was awestruck by the spiritual energy present. Guan accompanied Liya on a stroll inside the dojo, where they encountered disciples cultivating. The dojo was vast, and the disciples preferred to cultivate alone in different spots. Upon seeing Guan's arrival, the disciples all paid their respects, and Guan introduced Liya to them. The disciples had an impression of Liya, having heard from an Xan that Liya was the person Guan cared about most. Liya could sense that each Wuxia disciple's cultivation level was not weaker than his own, and an Xan and the Blood Prison Great Saint gave him an overwhelming sense of pressure. However, Liya wasn't discouraged, believing it only natural to train alongside Guan. After staying at the Taoist field of the Beginningless for 3 days, He bid farewell to Guan. Would you like to stay and cultivate? Guan asked with a smile. Leah shook his head and said, I've relied on you a lot already. To tell the truth, I still have the ambition to surpass you. Though cultivating by your side would be faster, it's impossible to surpass you, so I need to forge my own path, and my nature isn't suited to long-term seclusion. The world is vast and my eyes have yet to fully take it in. After I've roamed across this world, I'll return to reminisce with you. At this, Leah became high-spirited. Guan greatly admired his ambition and thus did not stop him. Besides, I need to see if you've truly resolved the catastrophe, Leah stated, staring intensely at Guan as if challenging him. Guan laughed and said, I'm afraid these eyes of yours won't perceive if I've truly resolved it. Upon hearing this, Leah was instantly frustrated. The divine exotic immortal spirit popped out and said pitifully, Master, I want to stay. Leah immediately grabbed it and with an awkward smile said to Guan, It's speaking nonsense. The divine exotic immortal spirit widened its eyes, struggling hard. You two do match well. Guan shook his head and laughed. He could hear the thoughts of the divine exotic immortal spirit, knowing it was reluctant to leave Leah, and spoke out of disapproval of Leah's posturing. We're leaving now. Leah left this utterance, taking the divine exotic immortal spirit with him. Guan stood amid the woods, watching them leave, feeling quite amused by their banter. The power of divine exotic city was inferior to Dao treasure. Even if had given divine exotic city to Leah, he wouldn't have minded. The reason for maintaining a layer of connection was in case Leah suddenly left his line of sight in the future. The white-haired ancestor said, As of now, the Great Tao is indeed infinite, even the celestial court cannot reach the source of the Great Tao, even the Supreme Celestial Emperor cannot see the end of the Great Tao. It is precisely for this reason that we can continuously comprehend the Great Tao, never feeling weary or satisfied. This answer did not fully satisfy Guan, but at least clarified that the celestial court has not yet reached the point of dominating the Great Tao. The questions continued. When everyone had finished asking, several days had passed. When involving enlightenment issues, the white-haired ancestor would speak more. After the questions ended, the white-haired ancestor rose and left, and once she left, the dojo became lively with some listeners immediately leaving, while others chose to stay and continue socializing. Hongyazi did not leave and pulled Guan along to interact, which suited Guan perfectly. When meeting a heaven-opening Daluo immortal from the Great Thousand World, Guan feigned curiosity and asked, I heard from a fellow Taoist that Chaos Grudge Luo from Chaos is wreaking havoc in the Great Thousand World. Will the Celestial Court handle this matter? This heaven-opening Daluo immortal, upon hearing this, snorted, How would the Celestial Court handle it? Chaosa creatures that can survive are basically favored by the great powers of the Celestial Court. I have already detected the matter of Chaos Grudge Luo, affecting several dozen Great Thousand Worlds, yet there are no actions from the Celestial Court. Clearly there is a calculation we should just pretend not to see. Another Daluo immortal spoke. Indeed, the 3,000 great worlds seem to be the heavenly Taoist main stage, but more like the celestial court's breeding ground. Nothing that happens within the 3,000 great worlds can escape their eyes. If they don't act, it indicates it's their doing. Others followed suit, expressing great dissatisfaction with the celestial court. Guan greatly admired them. These people truly dared to speak. They were not afraid of this reaching the ears of the celestial court. After their conversation ended, Hongyazi pulled Guan to a secluded place and whispered, Are you curious as to why they dare discuss the celestial court so boldly? Guan nodded. Because the endless Tao mountain is not affected by celestial Tao destiny, you should be able to feel it, and the immortal gods who can come here aren't bound by the celestial court's rules, so it's no harm if they're overheard. Hongyazi explained. Guan curiously asked, How does the misty immortal court view the celestial court? The misty immortal court has produced many immortal gods, recognized as a subordinate sect by the celestial court. Atop the magnificent golden furnace, Huang Feng immortal monarch sat cross-legged in mid-air, hands resting on his knees, silently practicing his arts. CTH Novel F. Ire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. A golden light appeared behind him, manifesting a figure. It was the celestial calming god. The celestial calming god clasped his fists in salute and said, "Immortal monarch, Chaos Grudge Luo has become a significant force. If we don't suppress him soon, I'm afraid it will cause great trouble. Under the heavens, a higher power will surely notice." Huang Feng, Immortal monarch with his back turned, did not open his eyes as he asked, "Has the power of the Chaos Grudge Luo invaded the celestial spirit great world?" The celestial calming god frowned and said, "Yes, but his power has vanished. It's unclear whether he withdrew or if a great power intervened." Over the years he had kept an eye on Chaos Grudge Luo, and was quite surprised by the anomalies in the celestial spirit great world. He hadn't consulted the celestial spirit god, aware of the past of the celestial spirit great world, feeling that there was a great cause and effect in which he dared not indulge. Now hearing Huang Feng, Immortal monarch, mention the celestial spirit great world, his vigilance only heightened. He must absolutely avoid getting entangled with the causes and effects of the celestial spirit great world. Upon hearing his words, Huang Feng, Immortal monarch, opened his eyes. He gazed down at the world within the furnace, contemplating something unknown. For a long time. "Begin closing the net. You're responsible for eliminating the power of Chaos Grudge Luo. I will request stronger forces of the heavenly Tao to capture him." Huang Feng, Immortal monarch, spoke, allowing the celestial calming god to breathe a sigh of relief as he accepted the order and departed. After the celestial calming god's departure, the area fell silent, with Huang Feng, Immortal monarch's eyes flickering, pondering something in his heart. Time passed gently. Since the teaching session at Endless Tao Mountain ended, Guan had not encountered any major events, and life became leisurely once more. The dark clouds looming over the world had dissipated, though conflicts in the human world persisted. After Guan eradicated the power of Chaos Grudge Luo, within 100 years, the Qinghuan sect regained peace and began to send disciples out again to save the world. In a blink of an eye, 10,000 years passed in an instant. At over 17 million years old, Guan had accumulated 16 trillion years of lifespan, using 8 trillion years of lifespan to progress from the early to the middle stage of the Tao Extreme Daluo Immortal realm, excluding the depletion from the lifespan barrier. Therefore he planned to reach 20 trillion years of lifespan before attempting to break through to the later stage. Until he reaches the perfection realm of the Tao Extreme Daluo Immortal, he has no intention of pursuing the functional threshold of 100 trillion years of lifespan. In the spring of that year, while Guan was in the courtyard writing with his brush, he suddenly looked up, his eyes carrying an unusual expression. Shenzhen, who was playing the zither beside him, noticed his anomaly and asked, "What is it? Has something happened to the Qinghuan sect?" Where Guan was looking was precisely in the direction of the Qinghuan sect. "Nothing much, just that a disciple with extraordinary talent is about to be born in the Qinghuan sect," Guan casually replied, then withdrew his gaze and continued writing. Shenzhen became curious and probed further, "How does he compare to Emperor Tianhong or Zhao Rushan?" As the millennia passed, the conflicts in the human world had neared their end. The enmity between Emperor Tianhong and Zhao Rushan was renowned across the world, both being the strongest prodigies of different eras. Now, as they clashed like water and fire, the world was curious as to who would emerge victorious in the end. "Perhaps even more so," Guan said with profound implication. "Emperor Tianhong was an immortal god reincarnation, while the disciple mentioned was the reincarnation of Chaos Grudge Luo. Chaos Grudge Luo didn't seem to have reincarnated of his own volition. It seemed he was cast into the reincarnation of the celestial spirit great world by some powerful being, conveniently ending up in the Qinghuan sect, which was certainly no coincidence. It appears that behind Tai Immortal Monarch or Profound Star Immortal Monarch, there exists an even more powerful presence keeping an eye on Guan. Although separated by celestial Tao destiny, Guan found it difficult to deduce. However, the other party didn't dare act rashly even when facing his pre-breakthrough self, so naturally now that he has broken through, he would be even less panicked. If that's the case, the Qinghuan sect is finally going to rise. Shenzhen commented without giving much thought, but rather with a sense of amazement. The Qinghuan sect is thriving but too young compared to sects that have been around for millions, tens of millions or even longer. In all aspects it falls far behind. If it could give birth to a disciple with talents surpassing even that of Emperor Tianhong or Zhao Rushan, it might possibly close that gap. Having spent tens of thousands of years near the Qinghuan sect, Shenzhen had developed feelings for it. Any Wuxia disciple visiting the Qingkuan sect would be received as an honored guest, without any incidents of disrespect thus far. The leadership of the Qingkuan sect holds Wuxia in high regard and dares not take it lightly. The Qingkuan sect will rise eventually, sooner or later, and they will also fall eventually. Guan said as he continued to write. Chapter 657. Unbeatable Emperor. 16 years later, a major event occurred in the Qingkuan sect. A 16-year-old male disciple was unusually accepted as a disciple by the sect hierarch, with the intention of grooming him to be the next sect hierarch. This matter had the approval of the 4 grand elders, and various rumors spread within the sect and even to the entire world. This boy's name is Yuan Luo. He didn't originally have this name, but after his first qi absorption cultivation he changed it to this name. During his first qi absorption he successfully established his foundation, shocking the cultivator who was instructing him, and the news quickly reached the higher-ups of the Qingkuan sect. Thereafter Yuan Luo took only a year to condense a golden core, and at 16 he was already at the nascent soul realm, with a cultivation speed that was astonishingly fast. Yi Qingshan discussed for several days and decided to nurture Yuan Luo in the same manner as training a prodigy in the Dao court. They are determined to cultivate Yuan Luo to be comparable to Zhao Rushan or Emperor Tianhong, but in my opinion they are relying on Wuxi's protection. Without Wuxia, raising disciples like this would only lead to a premature demise. An Xen spoke while standing next to Guan, who was fishing by the edge of a lake created by the ghost mother of ephemera, which was stocked with many nimble fish for his amusement. It doesn't matter. Whether we admit it or not, the outside world sees Wuxia as the pillar of the Qingkuan sect, and indeed we've done many things. Guan said, staring at the lake's surface. As his cultivation level became higher and the years he experienced became more numerous, Guan's mindset also transformed. He focused more on his own feelings. An Xian curiously asked, "Master, what's the origin of Yuan Luo with such incredible talent? He must be the reincarnation of a great power, right?" Yes, in his past life he was called Chaos Grudge Luo, causing havoc across many great thousand worlds. The previous calamity in the human world was caused by his power. He was likely captured by the immortal gods and cast into reincarnation, ending up in this plight. Guan didn't hide anything, briefly explaining Yuan Luo's background. An Xen frowned and asked, "Actions of the immortal gods? Such a wicked entity reincarnated within the Qingkuan sect? Wouldn't there be some scheme involved?" Guan glanced at her and smiled. Indeed, there might be some hidden scheme, but such schemes have never ceased. If you can't see through them yourself, it means you're still not strong enough. Seeing him still able to smile, an Xen knew everything was under his control. She couldn't help but ask, "Master, do you need me to do anything? Let nature take its course." Guan didn't say much more. He believed an Xen would understand his meaning. After spending so many years together, the two had developed a high level of rapport, and some things didn't need to be repeatedly explained. An Xian no longer talked about Yuan Luo but shifted the topic to Emperor Tianhong and Zhao Rushan. "I heard the Dao court plans to cultivate Zhao Rushan to become a Daoist emperor. Didn't you say a Daoist emperor must prove themselves on the path of the great Dao? Could it be that Zhao Rushan is heading to the path of the great Dao next?" An Xian was very interested in the Daoist emperor, and wondered whether a Daoist emperor at the same realm could rival her immortal emperor's eye. "He is destined to go and is fated to become a Daoist emperor," Guan replied. When mentioning the Daoist emperor, he couldn't help but shift his focus to the path of the great Dao, observing Ji Xiaoyu and Xiaolan. Sarch * the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Ji Xiaoyu had been fighting for many years, and with his destiny forming he was getting closer to becoming a Daoist emperor, while Xiaolan had also started to embark on the emperor road. After participating in the Daoist emperor's competition, their cultivation grew quickly, able to strengthen through battles. Xiaolan had already reached the divine thought true immortal realm, catching up with Tianhao far off in the misty immortal court. Ji Xiaoyu was even assaulting the heaven-encompassing free immortal realm, and, in terms of strength, he was now stronger than Yuan Songzi. After years of battling side by side, Yuan Songzi had successfully persuaded Ji Xiaoyu to join the Dao court. If she and Xiaolan succeeded, the Dao court would have 2 Daoist emperors, giving it the confidence to stand against the 3,000 great worlds outside the celestial spirit great world. Guan could hear the voice of Yuan Songzi's mind, feeling that his mood was far more excited than it appeared on his face. Ji Xiaoyu was cultivating and preparing for battle, and his next opponent was an unparalleled prodigy who had achieved 1,000 victories at the same realm on the path of the Great Tao, the unbeatable emperor from the Primordial Emperor domain. The unbeatable emperor ranked among the top 5 illustrious prodigies in the Primordial Emperor domain, and his momentum was extremely strong. Guan had already calculated the result of this battle and wasn't surprised. The original master of the Immortal Emperor's Eye, the Stealing Heaven Emperor, came from the Primordial Emperor domain. This person founded the Stealing Heaven Immortal sect, even provoking the Celestial Court's pursuit, proving the terrifying extent of his Tao practice. The deep foundation of the Primordial Emperor domain was unmatched by the Great Thousand Worlds. Master, do you think we need to foster a Taoist emperor in Wuxia? An Xian asked expectantly. Although Wuxia wasn't a sect in the conventional sense as the senior disciple, an Xian hoped Wuxia would grow stronger. It depends on personal goals. I don't demand it. Although a Taoist emperor is indeed powerful, the path is very difficult. Guan spoke softly with the memory of the Emperor of Eternal Life in him. He knew how arduous the path to becoming a Taoist emperor was. Looking at the disciples within the dojo, to be honest, he hadn't yet seen anyone with the potential to become a Taoist emperor, even Xiaolan, who relied on his covert protection while outside. If Xiaolan were to venture out alone, she would have died long ago. Moreover, he could sense that if he continued to aid Xiaolan, she would never be able to become a Taoist emperor, no matter how many times she won. The great Taoist will on the path of the great Tao is unfathomable. After listening, an Xian fell into contemplation, vaguely understanding the implication behind Guan's words. At this moment, Guan's fishing rod moved, and he began to reel it in with effort, his arms trembling. Watching Guan struggle as if he were immortal, an Xian covered her mouth and laughed, thinking her master truly loved to act. In a bright palace, Ji Xiaoyu sat meditating in front of a blue crystal, the crystal reflecting her silhouette. Yuan Songzi approached, stopping in front of Ji Xiaoyu, hesitating to speak. With her eyes closed, Ji Xiaoyu asked, "Speak your mind, Ting Master." Yuan Songzi took a deep breath and said, "Give up, your next opponent is unbeatable." Upon hearing this, Ji Xiaoyu opened her eyes, staring steadily at him. Yuan Songzi continued, "I've investigated. The unbeatable emperor not only achieved 1,000 victories, but he also swept through the peers in the Primordial Emperor domain. A Taoist emperor once fought him at the same realm and was defeated. To defeat a Taoist emperor before stepping onto the emperor road, even if the Taoist emperor suppressed his realm, is still unbelievable." The mere thought of it filled Yuan Songzi with fear. He feared Ji Xiaoyu would not believe it, so he added, "On the path of the great Tao, everyone believes the unbeatable emperor is destined to become a Taoist emperor. Your matchup, dictated by the Taoist will, is in misfortune. Avoiding the battle might mean wasted efforts, but at least you'll live. The struggle for the Taoist emperor is no child's play. 9 out of 10 losers die. Throughout the years, many prodigies have fallen at Ji Xiaoyu's hand." Unfazed, Ji Xiaoyu asked, "Ting Master, have you ever considered that the path to becoming a Taoist emperor is cruel and cannot be filled with pushovers? If I give up this time, when I next reach this point, I will face another prodigy as formidable as the unbeatable emperor. If I always give up, what is the point of walking the path of the great Tao? To have the Taoist recognition, one must defeat the opponents selected by the Tao." These words made Yuan Songzi frown. He felt they made sense.